Hello, and welcome back to yet another video. This is the 15th episode in a Naruto Uzumaki story in which a few little changes might have a significant impact. Knowledge provided early in Naruto's career converted him from a hopeless loser to a powerful and skilled shinobi. Historical differences that have long ago passed have resulted in a totally different consequence than we imagined. After you've finished watching, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. To begin, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Let's get the party started. Naruto frowned as he looked over at Jiraiya. They had been walking down the road for several hours and neither had really said much to each other. Not that there was much to say, but Naruto had never been comfortable with any long moments of silence. Even to this day he hated silence. And so, he did the only thing he could think of. "Hey Rasengan, I was wondering, who are we searching for exactly?" Jiraiya sighed as he realized that name was never going to leave him. His mom called me that too. "We're looking for my teammate, Senju Tsunade. She's another Sannin, right?" asked Naruto. "The Slug Princess I believe was one of her nicknames. I hear she's a legendary healer known for her ability to heal near-fatal injuries, as well as her super strength that can crush a mountain with a single punch." Jiraiya laughed. "Yep, that's her all right." He looked down at his blonde companion. "I'm actually surprised you know so much about her." Naruto shrugged. "My friend Tenten is a really big fan of Tsunade's. In fact, her whole life's purpose is to one day be a kunoichi as great as Tsunade is, to prove that women can be just as strong as men. So naturally I learned a lot about her idol whenever we hung out." "Ah, I see, and is this Tenten?" Jiraiya trailed off and wiggled a pinky at Naruto. Knowing the meaning, Naruto frowned rather than blushed like he used to. "No. At least, I don't think so. I'm pretty sure we're just friends." "Pretty sure?" The white-haired sage raised an eyebrow. "Honestly," Naruto sighed, "I don't know if I'm cut out for any kind of relationship. Aside from being a shinobi, which is a hazardous profession in and of itself, I also happen to be Kyuubi-chan's Jinchuriki, and while there is nothing wrong with that, it will make any relationship hazardous for the other person." Jiraiya frowned at the boy's response, though he could not deny the truth behind that, especially with what Jiraiya knew. He also filed away Naruto's use of the chan suffix for Kyuubi. Of course, he already knew the Kyuubi was a girl. Sarutobi had told him of Naruto's encounter with the fox. Jiraiya had to admit he was surprised, not only because the fox had a gender, but that, from what Naruto said, she did not seem to be quite the evil entity everyone thought she was. "Say, you were the Yondame's teacher, right, Rasengan?" asked Naruto after another poignant pause. "Yeah, that's right. Now there was a real shinobi, a true genius among geniuses," Jiraiya said, his eyes glazed over a small fraction in reminiscence. "Why do you want to know?" Naruto shrugged. "I was just wondering what it was like to train him. You know, what was the Yondame like?" Well, let's just put it this way, the Yondame was one of those once-in-a-generation geniuses that very rarely came along. He was smart, talented, brave, strong and really good with the ladies. He was like the son I never had." As Jiraiya spoke, he looked at the blonde and had to shake his head when he saw the image of Minato overlap Naruto's. "You kind of remind me of him in some ways." Naruto blinked as he looked away from the road and at Jiraiya as he grinned. "I guess that means I'm pretty awesome, huh, Rasengan?" Realizing his mistake, Jiraiya scoffed. "Don't think I meant anything like that. What I was talking about was your ridiculous blonde hair and stubbornness." "Bah. Then you obviously don't know talent when you see it. Stupid perverted hermit. Goddamn brat." Two pairs of eyes watched as Jiraiya and Naruto entered the town. "Great, so the brat's with a Sannin," Kisame muttered. "This could spell trouble for us." "That is true, however even the greatest of ninja have their weaknesses," Itachi said. "Come, our best bet is to distract Jiraiya and take the Kyuubi Jinchuriki then." The two black-cloaked figures headed into the town. Naruto sighed as he sat down on his bed. They had just gotten into a town not too far off from Konoha, and had decided to stay for the night. However, upon their arrival, Jiraiya had gone off with some woman who showed a mild amount of interest in him. Not that he particularly cared what the man did in his free time. Laying down on one of the beds, Naruto placed his hands behind his head. Now that he was thinking more clearly than he had since Sarutobi's death, he needed to think about what his goals were going to be, or to be more accurate, how he was going to accomplish them. His first and foremost goal was to get stronger. It was becoming blatantly obvious to him that he was not strong enough to protect the people important to him. If he had been, then he would have been able to protect Sarutobi in some way. It may be a little off thinking, after all the man had been fighting a Sannin, a cage-level ninja, and it would take years to reach that level. But in Naruto's mind, He felt there should have been something he could have done to protect the man he called Gigi. He also needed to focus on his shinobi career. Now Naruto was fairly positive that he would be promoted to Chunin after his performance in the exams. After all, he had gone up against the likes of Hyuga Neji, Rock Lee, and Niyugito, beating out both the Hyuga prodigy and the taijutsu specialist fairly easily. Well, maybe not so easy for Lee, but Neji had not been all that difficult. And while he may have lost to Yugito, there was no shame in that. She was simply better, had the benefit of training from a young age and was a Jonin in all but name. If Naruto did not become a Chunin after this, it would be because of a blatant showing of biased opinions due to his Jinchuriki status. Of course, rank would also have to wait until they got a Hokage who could give people ranks. His thoughts were cut off when a knock came at his door. Did Rasengan get dumped already? Wondered Naruto as he stood up. The door knocked again and Naruto grunted, "Yeah, I'm coming. Keep your goddamn pants on." He opened the door and glared, "I didn't expect you back so early. I guess she must have dumped your sorry ass already." The blonde trailed off as he saw that it was not Jiraiya at his door, but instead was two people wearing black cloaks with red clouds. As Naruto got a good look at their faces, his mind began to analyze what he could have done. He easily recognized the shorter one in front, who had knocked on the door as Uchiha Itachi, Sasuke's younger brother and the man who had slaughtered the Uchiha clan in one night. If the fact that he looked like an older version of Sasuke did not allow him to figure that out, then the freaky red eyes most certainly did. The second took a little longer to place, but he was soon able to figure out that it was Hoshigaki Kisame, another S-ranked ninja, this one being a former member of the Kiri Shinobi Katana Nanan and Shu, 7 ninja swordsmen of the Mist, the same group that Zabuza belonged to. For a brief moment, he wondered what 2 S-ranked criminals were doing here. "Come with us, Naruto-kun," Itachi said in an emotionless voice. "I guess that answers that question," Naruto grumbled in his head. He was under no delusions, there was no way he could fend off one, let alone 2 S-ranked ninja. That meant he had to stall for time and find some way to get a message to Jiraiya. "Yeah, okay," Naruto said, "let me just pack my bags and I'll be right out." He did not give Itachi a chance to answer as he slammed the door in the man's face. Naruto moved over to the window and opened it up. He jumped out and, before he even landed on the ground, he bit his thumb and began hand-sealing. "Kushios no Jutsu," he whispered as he landed on the ground and slammed his hands onto the dirt road. There was a puff of smoke as Naruto summoned Gamakichi. The blonde did not give the little toad any time to speak as he started, "Listen Kichi, I need you to get Jiraiya's ass here now. Tell him there are 2 S-ranked criminals after me. Hurry." Realizing the situation, Gamakichi nodded and hopped away. Naruto sighed, he really hoped Rasengan was sober enough to get here quick. In the meantime. "Alright. You can come out now, I know you're watching." Itachi. 2 cloaked figures jumped down from the window Naruto himself had come out of. "So to what do I owe the honor of 2 such esteemed S-ranked criminals coming after little ol' me? What we want is irrelevant," Itachi said in his monotone voice as his Sharingan eyes began to spin. "Please come with us, Naruto-kun." Naruto put his hands up in a ram sign when he felt foreign chakra invading his system. "Kai. You know, I would have expected better, even I can dispel genjutsu of that caliber. Try not to underestimate me." Itachi. The blonde paused before speaking, "Actually, you what? Go ahead and underestimate me, it will make kicking your ass so much easier." Who knew this gaki would have such a mouth on him? Kisame stepped forward as he grabbed the handle of his sword. "You know, I never figured the Kyuubi Jinchuriki would be such a runt. Perhaps I should cut his legs off so he doesn't run away." Naruto narrowed his eyes, both at the runt comment, and because this man knew his status. "Which means they're not actually after me, are they?" "No, of course not. No S-rank criminal would attempt to capture a Genin, and definitely not 2. You can try to get me fish paste, but I'm going to warn you now, I'm not that easy to beat." Naruto got into a relaxed stance as he flicked his hands and summoned a pair of kunai. "I only have 2 advantages here, and that's that they seem to need me alive, not very comforting given that they're S-ranked criminals and I have no idea what they're gonna do if they capture me. And they are likely to underestimate me due to the fact that I'm only a Genin." "What did you call me?" Kisame growled. He had never liked people making fish jokes about him of any kind. It was actually one of the few ways to set him off. "I'm gonna squash you like a bug gaki." "That's if I don't end up turning your fishy ass into a giant sushi roll before then," Naruto taunted. He knew this wasn't likely the best idea, but he would rather deal with an enraged S-rank ninja who couldn't think clearly, than one who could. Kisame charged at him almost too fast for Naruto to follow, much faster than the blonde would have expected from someone so big. As it was, Naruto was just barely able to dodge out of the way, jumping back into the left so he could keep out of Kisame's range. Not that it did much good, as the Shark Man was already coming after him. Naruto ducked under a horizontal swing, rolled backwards when the giant bandaged sword smashed into the ground, and then sidestepped the next attack. It took a bit, but Naruto was able to get used to at least some of the man's speed. Yeah, he was fast, faster than Naruto was, but he was not as fast as Orochimaru or Lee had been when opening the gates. That gave Naruto a small one-time window advantage, and when Kisame made his next swing, Naruto jumped over the sword, using it as a small springboard for him to launch a kick at Kisame's head. It worked as the man's head snapped back like he had received some kind of whiplash. Unfortunately for Naruto, that only seemed to enrage Kisame, and the next swing that came the blonde's way was too fast for him to dodge. Naruto got smacked right in the chest, letting out a short yelp when he felt several ribs break as he was sent flying back. The blonde crashed into a wall, leaving a nice-sized indent. Naruto slowly fell out of the indent, landing on the ground in a small heap. He wheezed a bit as he felt his ribs mending. Despite the number of times he had broken them recently, they always hurt like a bitch to heal. Fuck, that hurt. Naruto stood up on wobbly legs as he rubbed his bruised ribcage. Well, I have to at least admit that I'm impressed you were able to land a hit on Migaki and to withstand a smack from Samada. You must have impressive pain tolerance, Kisame said before he turned look at his silent partner. Oi, Itachi. Weren't we told this kid was the dead last of his class or something? Dead last? Naruto asked with a laugh. Despite the small winds of pain it earned him from his still sore ribs, your intel agent obviously sucks balls if that's what he got. His information is about 6 months out of date. You do seem to be more skilled now. However, even with your recent increase in skill it will not. Itachi trailed off before turning his head. Hello Sasuke. Naruto looked over towards where Itachi was looking and saw Uchiha Sasuke standing there. Oh, this is just great. The blonde groaned. Not only do I have to deal with 2 S-ranked criminals, but now I've got a revenge-driven emo maniac on my hands. Itachi. Sasuke snarled, glaring daggers at his brother and ignoring everything else. You have told me to live a life of hatred in order to get strong enough to kill you. I have hated you, despised you, cursed you. I have waited for this day to come, the day I kill you. The raven-haired Jonin went through 3 hand seals and activated the Chidori, placing the lightning near the ground as he used his other hand to stabilize the attack. He then ran at his older brother, letting the lightning jutsu trail across the ground, ripping it up like paper. As he got closer to Itachi, Sasuke thrust out his hand, hoping to impale his brother and finally get his vengeance. It was not to be. With naught but a simple movement of his hand, Itachi caught Sasuke's wrist and threw his arm to the left, letting the Chidori hit the ground and dissipate. Itachi looked at his little brother with cold, disinterested eyes. You don't interest me right now. With those words, the older raven-haired ninja snapped the younger one's wrist, making Sasuke scream out in agony. Itachi then kicked his little brother away, letting him hit a wall across the street and causing the crowd that had gathered to run away. Now that he is out of the way, I will ask again. Come with us, Itachi said as he turned to Naruto. However, before the blonde could respond, another voice shouted out, no. The 3 ninja turned to see Sasuke glaring at his Itachi as he held his now broken wrist. I'm not done yet. Naruto growled at his teammate's stupidity. He was just about to move in when Kisame seemed to sense his intentions. The man gave Naruto his shark-like grin. Let's let them settle this little family matter. Naruto glared at the man. There's no way I'm letting one of my teammates get himself killed, even if he is a prick. Decision made. Naruto charged at Kisame. He lashed out with one of the kunai he had in his hand, moving in a diagonal slash. Not that it did much, as Kisame was able to block the attack rather easily with his sword. This, however, did little to deter Naruto, who sent his other kunai at Kisame in a thrusting motion aimed for the swordsman's face. Once again Kisame raised his blade and blocked the attack. However, it was in that moment that Kisame had made one error. Naruto had been continuously making his attacks at a higher altitude each time he struck, forcing Kisame to do the same to compensate. It did not make the man raise his arm much, given the difference in height between the two. It was more than enough for Naruto to have reached under Kisame's arm. On Naruto's last strike he had brought his other hand up and slipped an explosive tag onto the man's skin. Now one has to remember that in normal circumstances something like this would never work against a ninja of Kisame's caliber. However, because A. Kisame was fighting a Jonin, the man was prone to underestimate his opponent, giving Naruto a small advantage. B. Said opponent, despite being a Jonin, was a lot better than most people ever gave him credit for, especially due to his dead last title. And finally C. Naruto was a well-known prankster that had, in many cases, been able to outsmart entire legions of Anbu in his youth when playing a prank. All of these factors combined gave Naruto that singular advantage which allowed this attack to work. Naruto jumped back and made a hand sign, Katsu. Boom. Itachi watched as Sasuke charged him again, even though he was no longer able to make hand signs of any kind. It was sort of pitiful that the younger teen was so blinded by rage that he was attacking an opponent with strength so superior to his own it was laughable. Not that it meant Itachi was going to show his younger brother any mercy. It was quite obvious the boy needed to be taught a lesson. As soon as Sasuke came in range, Itachi lashed out, smashing his fist into the younger man's chin. As Sasuke flew into the air, Itachi grabbed Sasuke by an arm and pulled him into a knee. Not even giving his younger brother a chance to spit out blood, the Uchiha clan slayer spun around, launching a kick into Sasuke's face, breaking the nose and sending him crashing into a wall. Sasuke hit the wall hard, coughing up blood. He began to fall to the ground. However, before he could get close to the ground, Itachi appeared beside him, smashing him back into the wall and leaning in close. "You are still too weak, Sasuke," Itachi whispered, causing the younger teen to freeze. "You are too weak to avenge the clan, and do you know why?" The older Uchiha paused for a moment. "It's because you like hatred. You still don't have enough. Perhaps I should help your hatred grow, by showing just why you should hate me in the first place." Itachi looked at Sasuke as his left eye became a pinwheel. "Tsukuyomi. You damned Gaki." Kisame screamed as the smoke from the explosion cleared, revealing the man to be mostly unharmed with the exception of his arm, said arm being covered in light burns. "That really fucking stings. You should just consider yourself lucky that sushi is supposed to be served raw," Naruto shot back. "Otherwise I would have made your arm extra crispy." Before Kisame could even consider attacking the insolent little blonde, a scream from the other side of the street tore their attention away from their own battle. Both Naruto and Kisame watched as Itachi moved back from Sasuke, who slumped to the ground with a dead look in his eyes. "Man, that's harsh, Itachi, using that jutsu on family," Kisame said with a grin. He turned his attention back to Naruto. "Now that Itachi's Gaki of a brother has been taken care of, it's time I dealt with you." Naruto got into a ready stance as Kisame appeared in front of him, swinging his blade overhead. Before it could actually come down and hit him, a puff of smoke erupted in front of the pair. There was a clang as Kisame's sword hit something that was obviously not Naruto. It was soon revealed to be an armored toad, who was currently holding two swords out and blocking Kisame's weapon. "You two are pathetic," a voice came from one of the alleyways. Everyone turned to see Jiraiya stepping out with the woman that had caught his attention earlier on his shoulders. "You should know better than to use a woman against me. For it is not me who bows down to them. But it is the ladies who beg to see even a glimpse of the great Jiraiya Sennin. Would you do everyone a favor and shut the fuck up?" Naruto glared at the man. "We all know that if a lady even shows mild interest in you, you would become putty in her hands at the drop of a hat." The blonde pinched the bridge of his nose. "Why oh why do all my teachers have to be perverts? I feel corrupted just standing near you. Oi! Don't interrupt the great Jiraiya-sama when he's trying to make his entrance." The Sannin shouted in anger, "A Gaki like you could never understand the greatness that I possess. If by greatness you mean the great ability you have to somehow get your ass beaten by every woman in the hot springs when you go peeking, something that helps you deals with your masochistic streak, then yes, I don't understand your greatness," Naruto said, grinning when he saw the man gain a large eye twitch. "You Gaki. Disrespecting your elders like that," Jiraiya shouted. The white-haired man held his glare for a few seconds longer before he frowned and set the unconscious woman down. "In any event, you two should be ashamed of yourself for taking advantage of a young woman like that." The white-haired man looked at Itachi, "And it seems my intel was right, you guys are after Naruto. You and your group Akatsuki." "Ah." Itachi's face gained a look of understanding. "So it was you who told Kakashi of our existence. I should have realized that sooner." "Akatsuki?" wondered Naruto as he looked between the two. "So some kind of group is after me? Well, that fucking sucks. I think one of these days I'm gonna have to find Murphy and kill him for creating this thrice damned law that loves me so much." "Kisame, these conditions have become unfavorable, we are leaving," Itachi said. Kisame nodded, knowing that fighting one of the men hailed as the strongest ninja in the elemental nations was not the brightest idea, even for ninja as powerful as they were. "Oh no you don't," Jiraiya shouted as he made several hand seals and slammed them into the ground. "Kushio no Jutsu, Gamaguchi Shibari." Jiraiya slammed his hands down onto the ground, and before the two Akatsuki members could get any farther, a pink fleshy wall formed in front of and around all of them. You are now within the esophagus of the fire-breathing toad of Mount Myabokuzen, you two are trapped within my jutsu. The fleshy walls began to close in on the pair, forcing them to make a run for it. As they neared one of the walls, Itachi closed his left eye, letting the right one transform into a pinwheel. Amaterasu. Black flames appeared on the fleshy wall, destroying it and letting them escape. Fuck. What the hell was that? Naruto shouted as he made his way towards the black flames. Don't touch that, Jiraiya shouted as he ran towards Naruto, letting the jutsu he had used go and making the walls dissolve as if they were never there. Said Blonde scoffed, who said I was going to touch it? Did you see what these flames did to this whatever the jutsu of yours was? Naruto unsealed a blank scroll and one of new ink brushes. Unrolling the scroll he began channeling chakra into his brush and started writing out a seal. No, touching this thing is about as smart as you trying to sneak a peek in the women's hot springs when all of the Onbuku no Ichi are in it. Jiraiya would have said something about insulting him, but at the moment he was too entranced at watching the black flames that had been burning around on the ground get sucked into the seal. When it was done, a small kanji appeared in the middle of the seal saying black fire. Nodding to himself, Naruto rolled the scroll up and sealed it into one of the many containment seals on his body. You know you're pretty good with those seals, Gaki, Jiraiya commented. I hadn't realized you were so far into your sealing that you could come up with this stuff. I'm not that far, Naruto said with a shrug. Technically I'm on the level 2 intermediate book on sealing. However, I wanted to have some more useful seals and so I looked up some from the more advanced books. Don't say it. Naruto interrupted the man who was about to speak. I made sure I knew all of the seals I copied inside and out. I can copy a seal just fine. It's using the theory to make my own that is more difficult. The only advanced seal I made on my own was the one keeping Sasuke team's cursed seal in check. And then, that's really because I was trying to find a way to get rid of the one on Anko-ne-chan. Damn if this kid isn't like his father when it comes to sealing, Jiraiya sighed. Minato had always gone on to the more advanced stuff too if he felt there was a need for it, even when he was not ready for the more advanced concepts. Well, as my apprentice, I'm gonna have to order you not to do that anymore. At least until I check out your seals. How far along are you in the intermediate book? Almost finished. Naruto replied, unlike the other books that I read that I normally just relegate to my clones, I enjoy reading this so it's a bit slower. However, with the time we have on this trip I should be finished with it and starting on the level 3 intermediate level. Jiraiya nodded, that's not bad considering you've only started this 6 months ago. Well. Naruto blushed a bit. Truth was, while he really could not care less about the other stuff he read, and was only reading it because he had promised Sarutobi he would, and he begrudgingly admitted that it did help, he absolutely loved reading up on Fuin Jutsu. What can I say? I am just that awesome. He pumped his fist into the air. Whatever, Gaki, you've still got a long way to go before you can be considered a master. Naruto scowled and was about to make a comment when another voice spoke up. Jiraiya-sama. The two Konoha ninja turned to see Mitogai running up to them. I am glad to see you two are alright. We had heard that Itachi and his most unyouthful partner were after Naruto-kun. Young Sasuke-kun also ran after you guys. Speaking of, you wouldn't happen to know where he is, do you? The two other Konoha ninja blinked, looked at each other for a second before simultaneously pointing towards Sasuke, who was lying some distance away. Yosh. I thank you, my most youthful comrades. I must be off, Guy shouted as he hefted Sasuke on his back piggyback style. He gave the two a thumbs of, farewell my comrades who burned brightly with the flames of youth. The pair watched the most eccentric Jonin take off with only a small cloud of dust to signify he had ever been there. While dealing with Guy-sensei was as awkward and creepy as always, Naruto said, we should probably get a move on now. Right, Jiraiya agreed, walking up to the blonde as the two began to make their way out of the village. Hey Rasengan, what's your teammate like? Asked Naruto as they walked down the dirt road. I mean, I know she's the greatest healer and all that, and I've heard the stories about her super strength, but I really don't know anything else. Tsunade? Jiraiya tapped his chin in thought for a moment, to sum her up in one word, fiery. That woman has one of the largest tempers I have ever seen. That, combined with her super strength, makes her a dangerous woman. The older male reached into his vest and fished out some pictures, handing them to Naruto. Naruto took one look at it before his eyes promptly widened. This is your teammate? From what, 40 years ago or something? Jiraiya smirked. That may be an old picture, but I can guarantee she will be looking somewhere around that age. Tsunade has always been a vain person. When she got older she cast a permanent genjutsu on her that allows her to change her age at will. From what one of my informants told me, she usually sticks between the ages of 21 and 28. Naruto pocketed the picture as he looked up at Jiraiya. So is there anything else I should know about your wayward teammate, aside from the fact that she's extremely vain? Well, there is one more thing that I suppose is important, Jiraiya said. In certain circles she has the very well-earned nickname of the legendary sucker. A sweat drop appeared on Naruto's head. You do know that can be taken in so many ways, right? And none of them are the right ways. Jiraiya laughed as he realized at least one of the ways wished his words could be taken. Her nickname doesn't mean something like that, though I wish it did. I was actually talking about her terrible luck at gambling. Naruto blinked. Gambling? Yep. Tsunade's always had a huge addiction to gambling, and she's always been absolutely terrible at it. She is well known in every gambling parlor within Hinokuni as the legendary sucker because she has never won a single bet. I swear, you saw Nin and your addictions, Naruto sighed. You know, I bet most of the ninja that respect you guys just don't know the truth about you. Seriously, one is into peeking in the bathhouses, one's a chronic gambler who's earned a title for being so shitty at it, and the last is a snake who likes to play with little boys. Jiraiya's right eye twitched. Hey! We're still some of the most powerful ninja in the world. Stupid, smart aleck Gaki. I didn't say you weren't, Naruto grinned. You guys have more issues than the dude who invented glitter cannons. Jiraiya sighed as he figured it would be best to stop while he was ahead. The pair continued walking down the dirt path for a while longer without speaking. Hey Gaki, you still want to learn that jutsu, right? Naruto blinked as he looked over at Jiraiya before grinning. Of course I do. What kind of fool would I be to pass up a new jutsu? Alright then, I'll need to get some materials in the next town to teach it to you, so we'll do it then, okay? Jiraiya chuckled a bit at the kid's enthusiasm. Naruto nodded as he pumped his fist into the air. Okay. Then let's get to the next city pronto. Jiraiya suddenly had to blink as the area Naruto was in became covered with a dust cloud in the shape of Sejinon, while the real one was running towards the nearest town. In the wrong direction. The old Senin pinched the bridge of his nose. I swear this kid is a person of mass contradictions. When Naruto and Jiraiya came upon the next town, it was to see a festival taking place there. Having never actually been to a festival before, Naruto was looking around at all the stalls that sold food, and had games of all kinds to play in awe. Well, why don't we take a break for a moment? Jiraiya suggested, seeing the look in Naruto's eyes. After all, it's good for shinobi to rest their feet after a long day of traveling, and it's not like we're going to run into Tsunade today. Naruto nodded. That sounds like a plan, Senin. And if that's the case, then I'm going to go see what some of the stalls have to offer. I've never gotten to go to a festival after all. Never? Asked Jiraiya, slightly surprised to hear that. Didn't Sarutobi-sensei take him to one at least once? Naruto gave the Sanin a blank stare. Senin, the one festival Konoha has is the festival celebrating Kyuubi's defeat. Do you honestly think I would be welcome there? The question was completely rhetorical, and the blonde did not give Jiraiya a chance to respond anyways. Well, I'll see you later, Senin. Jiraiya watched the kid run off before realizing something. Damn it. I forgot to convince him to give me his wallet. Great, now that means I have to use my own money to find good company. As Jiraiya walked off to find a place to get good drink and female companionship, Naruto was trying his hands at the many game stalls, and utterly dominating them with his ninja talents. He would sample some of the food they had and just generally have a good time. Since he had never done anything like spending time at a festival before, Naruto made sure to milk it for all it was worth before he got bored. Eventually, though, he realized something significant that made him stop and find a secluded spot earlier than expected. Throughout the entire time he had been journeying, Kyuubi had yet to talk to him. He had the distinct feeling she was ignoring him after he had essentially cut all contact with her off after the Sandaimei's death. And he knew he would have to go see her and apologize for that, something he had been holding off on long enough. Naruto sighed as he found himself outside of Kyuubi's hut within the forest. Walking up to it, the blonde knocked several times and waited for Kyuubi to answer. Much like the time she had gotten depressed about his treatment on his Intenten's date, however, Kyuubi did not answer. Not particularly caring if the vixen threw a fit for it, Naruto entered the house. When he did, it was to find Kyuubi glaring at him fiercely. Hey Q-chan, Naruto greeted kind of awkwardly, not really sure what to say. Kyuubi did not reply and instead, just turned away from the bond, ignoring his presence. Naruto walked forward and crawled onto the bed behind the red-haired vixen. Look. I know you're upset with me, and I'm sorry that I ignored you. But I don't care one way or the other, Kyuubi replied stiffly. Yes you do, Naruto said in a quiet voice, causing Kyuubi to stiffen even more. Come on Q, you know that I'm not quite as dumb as I act. If it didn't bother you, you wouldn't be ignoring me. I know what I did was wrong, and I'm sorry, but as I said, I don't care one way or the other. Kyuubi turned around to glare at him. The only thing that I care about is the fact that you ignored me. I do not take well to people who ignore my presence. And I will not take it from you. However, by now Naruto was getting angry at how his tenant was acting. Sure, she always acted like this, but there were some things that he just preferred to deal with on his own, and the death of a person who was like a grandfather to him was one of them. Look, I know it bothers you, Miss High and Mighty Demon, but I think I'm entitled to some moments of peace. And I had no desire to listen to any smart-ass remarks you might make about Oji-san. He's one of the only people who was ever there for me as a child, who helped me deal with all of the shit life threw my way. Unlike you, Miss. Naruto was unable to say anything else as Kyuubi suddenly appeared right next to him and slammed him into a wall. You think I have not been there for you, child? Kyuubi hissed out as her hand went around the blonde's neck and lifted him into the air. Who is it that healed all of the wounds you received from overtraining? Who is the reason poisons don't affect you? Who is it who gave you your larger-than-average chakra reserves? By now Kyuubi was right in Naruto's face with her teeth bared at him. I did, I gave you all of those things. The only reason you're even alive is because of me. Had it not been for me, you would have died that night when that human instructor betrayed you. Or you would have starved to death when you lived on the street and Miyuki was not there to fix your body. You owe me. When this had happened before, during the first few times they had met, Naruto had been admittedly frightened. Like last time, Kyuubi was leaking killing intent left and right and her Yuki was coming off of her body in wisps of red energy. The glare she was giving him was potent enough that it looked like she could burn a hole right through his head. However, by now Naruto had screwed up his courage. He had grown used to her and seen another side that he doubted she even really realized she was showing. This time he was not afraid of the redhead in front of him. Had it not been for you, I would have never been kicked out of the orphanage. I would have never lived on the street and been forced to find food in the trash. Your Yuki would have been unnecessary because I would have had people who cared about me. I may have found a family who was willing to adopt me. I would have known the love of a mother and father. Had it not been for you, that night Mizuki would have never betrayed me, and chances are I would have passed my Jonan exams the first time I took them. In an act of defiance, Naruto released his own Yuki, and while it was not powerful enough to overpower Kyuubi's, it was enough to give Naruto the strength necessary to pry himself out of the woman's grip. Were it not for you, I would have never had any need for your power because I would have never been placed in a situation where your power was necessary. You can't say that you were there for me when every situation I've ever been in can be laid at your feet, nor can you say it was for me when we both know the only reason you helped me was because your survival was dependent on my own. By now Kyuubi's arms were slack at her side and her mouth was slightly agape in a look of surprise. However, it soon closed and became a thin line as her eyes narrowed. Get out, she hissed at him. Get out now. I don't want you to show your face to me again, you ungrateful brat. Fine, Naruto replied, if this is what I get for apologizing to you, then maybe it's best if we don't speak anymore. With the last word and the whisker-marked blonde disappeared from the seal. Kyuubi stared at the spot he had left before eventually sinking to the floor, feeling an exhaustion she had never known before. Damn it. Why the hell am I getting so worked up, so some damn human? She blinked before correcting herself. Hanyo. I am the greatest demon to ever exist. I have never cared for others, so why the hell do I even give a shit about this one person? Someone who also happens to be my prison. Kyuubi let out an angry snarl. Somehow I know you're responsible for this, she shouted. What did you do to me? Why do I feel this way? Answer me, damn it. I don't know what you're talking about, the voice replied, and Kyuubi felt rage at the amusement it was laden with. I haven't done anything to you. Perhaps what you should be asking is what you are doing to yourself. I'm not doing anything. Kyuubi raged. This is all your fault. You did something to me. Something that has to do with this seal. I know you did. Fix it now. However, the voice merely laughed at her. You sound like a petulant child, Kyuubi. Not used to not always getting your way? Before the vixen could respond, the voice continued, and I have done nothing to you. The seal does nothing to you. What you feel is something of your own making. Perhaps rather than looking to blame others for your problems and feelings, you should try searching yourself for the answers you seek. As the voice disappeared, Kyuubi seethed in silence before eventually making her way to her bed. Naruto stood up with a frown. That confrontation could have gone better, though he knew it could have also gone worse. Still, he was not quite sure what to do in these kinds of situations, and had no clear way on how to fix this problem. He shook his head before he noticed the time and decided to find Jiraiya. It did not take long to find the white-haired Sannin. All he had to do was follow the man's rather distinctive laugh. Nor was he surprised to find the man in a nearby tavern, with a lot of alcohol and several women hanging off of him. Eh? Oi, Naruto. Get over here and relax. Allow me to introduce you to these two lovely ladies. Naruto looked at Jiraiya for a few seconds before he sighed and walked over to the trio. He sat on the left, next to a woman with brown hair that went down to mid-back and honey-colored eyes. "Oh my Jiraiya-sama, you didn't tell us you were traveling with someone so cute." The young blonde was very hard-pressed to control his eye twitch. "What the hell is it with females calling me cute? I am not cute, damn it." However, in the end he just sighed and decided to take the compliment for what it was worth. After all, there were worse things for him to be called. Jiraiya gave a large grin. "This girl's is my apprentice, Uzumaki Naruto. Naruto, I would like you to meet Suzuki and Momiji." Naruto offered the girls a smile and a small hello. Suzuki, the girl who was sitting next to him, got off Jiraiya and leaned into him, wrapping her arms around his neck. "It's nice to meet you, cutie. Jiraiya-sama, you really picked quite an apprentice. I can tell he's going to be a lady killer in a few years." The girl looked at Naruto's cheeks before gently touching his whisker marks. "What are these whiskers? Birthmarks?" Naruto would have answered, except the girl began stroking his markings, getting the blonde to close his eyes and start purring. "Kawaii." Suzuki squealed and Naruto felt an instant of horror, remembering what happened the first time Anko had found out about his purring. He was very lucky, or unlucky if you're someone like Jiraiya who was hoping to get a good story out of his apprentice's interaction with the woman, when the girl did not suffocate him in her bosom, and instead seemed to get more enjoyment out of continuing her ministrations. Of course, this did have a small problem that came with it, and that was that Naruto was finding it increasingly hard to keep down his natural reaction to the girl's activity with his whiskers. It also did not help that the girl seemed to be enjoying running her fingers over them so much that she had ended up practically sitting on his lap in the end. He was thankful when Jiraiya eventually blacked out from drinking too much, and used it as an excuse to bid the two goodbye and proceeded to drag an unconscious Jiraiya through the streets. A few seconds after they left, Jiraiya got back up as if he had not just managed to drink 17 bottles of sake. "Alright, let's go find an inn." "How the fuck are you still standing?" Naruto asked incredulously. "Seriously, I've seen Anko drink less, and after 10 bottles she's so drunk she's likely to try and molest me." "Hey, you say that like it's a bad thing." Jiraiya looked at his student with a lecherous grin. When all he received was a glare in return, he shrugged. "I've been drinking far longer than Anko has, and I'm not a lightweight like many shinobi are. You know, I'm actually kind of surprised that you didn't try to drag my ass out of there as soon as you found out what I was doing." Naruto sighed. "Do I look like your keeper? I don't give two fucks what you waste your money on. And I am well aware that every shinobi has some kind of odd quirk that keeps them from going insane thanks to the things our profession calls for. So if you want to spend your money perving on women, then be my guest. I suppose one can't argue with that logic." Jiraiya shook his head a bit before grinning. "Though, I suppose I should say I'm surprised you decided to join me then." Naruto looked at him before giving a half-hearted shrug. In truth, he just did not want to deal with the hassle trying to get Jiraiya out of there would have caused. "After spending as much time as I have with Anko, I've been pretty much desensitized to these things. Well, come on, Oro-sennin, might as well find a place to sleep before we head out to search for your old teammate." Jiraiya watched as Naruto walked away before he chuckled and shook his head. What an odd kid. The next day, the two had woken up and set out on the road again. While the two were walking, Jiraiya pulled out a water balloon and tossed it to Naruto. Said blonde gave the man a blank look as he switched from staring at the water balloon to him. "Oro-sennin, what the hell is this for?" "That is for the first stage of the new jutsu I'm going to be teaching you." Jiraiya held out his own water balloon. "This jutsu has 3 steps to complete. The first step is rotation. You need to pop this balloon by spinning the water with your chakra." Naruto looked from Jiraiya to the water balloon, and then back to Jiraiya. "Right, and just what the hell is this amazing technique?" In response to Naruto's sarcastic voice, Jiraiya smirked and held out his other hand and formed a rapidly spinning ball of chakra. Noticing the blonde's slightly gaping mouth, Jiraiya grinned. "It's called the Rasengan, spiraling sphere, and was one of the Yondaime's prized techniques. The technique is incredible as it does not require any hand seals to use. That means jujutsu like the Sharingan won't be able to copy it. That's because this jutsu is pure chakra manipulation taken to the highest level." "Wow," Naruto whispered as he stared at the spinning ball of chakra. It looked like a miniature maelstrom inside of that blue orb. "That is some seriously compressed chakra." "Wow, I was right, Gaki," Jiraiya grinned. "Now, as I said, the first step to this technique is rotation. Tell me, how is tree climbing and water walking done?" "With tree climbing you have to release a set amount of chakra and maintain it so that you stick to the tree. And with water walking it's similar, except rather than maintain a set amount, You have to continuously release chakra and change it depending on the density of the liquid surface. Jiraiya blinked at the not only accurate, but decently complex answer. I have to remember this kid isn't as dumb as he likes to sometimes act. That's right, this could be considered a step higher, or several steps higher. Now watch this. Naruto watched as Jiraiya held out the hand with the water balloon. He could feel the chakra that the toad Sennin was pouring into the balloon, and saw that it was starting to form lumps on the surface. Less than a second later the balloon popped, letting water explode everywhere. Jiraiya shook the water off his hand. Now that you've seen it, I want you to pop. The old Sannin was cut off by the sound of a balloon popping and water splashing along the ground. Jiraiya looked at Naruto to see him cursing and shaking his hand of the water. Having seemingly had enough, Naruto channeled massive amount of Yuki to his hand and used a quick Kitsune Bai to dry himself off. Let's see you do that again. Jiraiya took out one of the extra water balloons he had and tossed it to Naruto. Naruto caught the balloon and channeled some chakra into it. Jiraiya watched in shock as the balloon gained a lumpy surface and then popped. How did you get that down so quickly? What do you mean? Asked Naruto as he tilted his head to the side in confusion. I just saw the way the jutsu worked. When you popped the balloon, the surface became lumpy before popping. When I saw the jutsu outside of the balloon, I noticed that it had chakra swirling in all different directions. Honestly, it wasn't that hard to figure out that in order to make the balloon pop, I had to rotate my chakra in several dozen directions. So what's the next step? Jiraiya grabbed a rubber ball and tossed it to Naruto in dumb fashion, his mind still slightly blank at how fast Naruto had gotten the first stage of the jutsu. Now the second step is power. This is usually the hardest step since you have to put as much power into the jutsu as you can to pop the balloon. Naruto nodded and began channeling his Yuki into the balloon. Bam! What the fuck? Naruto shouted as he covered his ears after popping the rubber ball. Why the hell was that so loud? He picked at his ears to try and get the ringing out. Sometimes he really cursed his enhanced senses. How the hell did you do that? Jiraiya almost felt himself have a seizure. Okay, the first step, while difficult, was not impossible to get that fast, seeing how observant the boy was. But this was just ridiculous. There is no way you should have gotten that so quickly. Generating enough power consistently like that takes time. Naruto picked out his ear as Jiraiya griped, Sennin, are you forgetting who I have sealed inside of me? I've got power in spades. In truth, that was only half the reason, but he did not want to tell Jiraiya that he was actually a Hanyo and his Yuki was simply more potent and allowed him to use more powerful attacks easily. So, what's the third step? Jiraiya pulled out a balloon and blew it out before handing it to Naruto. The third step is combining the first two within that balloon without making it pop. So what am I doing exactly? Asked Naruto. Jiraiya held out a hand and formed a Rasengan in it, causing Naruto's eye to gain a light of recognition. Ah. So I'm actually creating the jutsu inside of the balloon. Then that means the third step is control. That's right, Jiraiya nodded as he watched Naruto try the third step, only to fail and make the balloon pop. He was glad to see that if he were honest, if this kid managed to learn the Rasengan in one day, he would have had a heart attack. Continue working on that while we walk, we need to get to the next town. You know, this kind of reminds me of those sandcastles I've seen kids make in the park, right after they step on them, Naruto said as he and Jiraiya found themselves staring at what used to be the famous castle of Danzakugai. Now it was really nothing more than a pile of rubble and debris. As the pair walked close to the scene, Naruto picked at some of the debris. Hey Sennin, this place has a heavy smell of snakes, Naruto commented as he sniffed the air. Jiraiya looked over at him with a frown. Snakes huh? What else can you smell? Naruto took several more whiffs of the air and frowned. Aside from snakes I can smell sake, a lot of sake. And it's a little hard to pick up, but I also smell antiseptics. Then that means we're close to our quarry. Jiraiya began moving away from the castle. Come on Gaki, chances are good my teammate is here, and if the smell of snakes are any indication, she had a run-in with my other teammate, so I want to find her as soon as possible. The pair had searched for the entire day and had no luck in finding the wayward healer. They decided to stop and get a meal at a local tavern before getting a place to stay for the night. As they entered the tavern, Jiraiya took a look around and stopped when his eyes landed on a very familiar face. Tsunade? A blonde woman who had been drinking rather heavily looked up to reveal a diamond symbol on her forehead and honey-colored eyes. Jiraiya? What the hell are you doing here? Jiraiya merely gave the woman a grin as he sat down. Nothing much, I was just passing through and looking for a place to stop for the night. Naruto howled in a snort as he sat down next to the older man. He looked at the other occupants in the booth and noticed a black-haired woman holding what appeared to be a well-pampered pig. Well, isn't this day just full of surprises? Tsunade said, and Naruto had to hold in his gag reflex as he smelled more alcohol on her than he had ever smelled on anyone else. All the old faces just keep coming back. Naruto stiffened as he heard that and Jiraiya frowned. So you did meet Orochimaru then? What did the snake want? Tsunade glared as the black-haired woman who looked like she was about to speak. Oh, you know, just dropped in the neighborhood to see how I was doing. Jiraiya took the bottle of sake that was on the table and poured himself a glass before getting out a deck of cards and shuffling them. If you met him, then I take it you've heard about Sensei? He tossed her a set of cards before laying the deck on the table. Of course, the old snake told me about how he did the deed himself. Tsunade looked at her cards, placing 2 of them next to the deck and grabbing 2 more. Now why don't you just cut to the chase and tell me why you're here? Getting straight to the point is always a hime, princess. Jiraiya looked up at Tsunade to see her glaring at him, and decided to get to the point, lest he incur her wrath. As you know, Konoha is currently without a Hokage. So the council, in all its wisdom, has decided that you are to be the next Hokage. Naruto felt a jolt of surprise run through him at the announcement, having not expected it at all. Though after the initial surprise passed he had to curse himself for not seeing it sooner. Why else would they travel all over Hinokuni just to find one woman, even a Sannin, if not for something like that? Humph, Hokage huh? I don't know why you even bothered coming here then. Tsunade looked at her cards before placing them on the table. I can't believe you would even bother trying to get me to take that job. I may do a lot of gambling, Jiraiya, but money is easily replicable, a life isn't. Becoming Hokage? That's a fool's bet. Look at what happened to all of the Hokages, they all died. Even the Ondame died young. The Hokage's job is for nothing but fools and idiots. She did not get the chance to say anything as she felt a blast of air and had to blink as she saw a fist mere centimeters from her face. She followed the fist to see it was attached to one Uzumaki Naruto, who was being restrained by Jiraiya. His face was carved into a snarl, and she was shocked to see his eyes shifting from blue to amethyst to red and back to blue. Damn it, Gaki. Calm down. Jiraiya struggled and actually had to put in a lot of effort to hold the kid back. Kami, what the hell is with this kid's strength? Shut up, Hiro-senin. Maybe you can just stand there and listen to her insult Toji-san and the other Hokages, but I won't put up with it. Naruto bared his elongated canines at the blonde woman. There's no way I'm letting some wrinkly old hag like her insult Toji-san's memory like that. Tsunade looked at him, blinking in a bit of curiosity. At least until he called her an old hag, then she turned to glare on him before looking at Jiraiya. Who's the brat? Don't tell me you've actually taken another apprentice. I thought you had forsworn taking on any more after your last one died. Though this one seems like a downgrade from your previous student. Jiraiya grunted as he struggled to hold the kid back. I wouldn't be too sure of that. Damn it. I need you to calm down, Naruto, said Blonde, growled at him but finally relented and sat back down. This kid will surprise you, Tsunade. I wouldn't underestimate him. Whatever, Tsunade scoffed. Hey brat, what's your name? Uzumaki Naruto, the blonde shinobi said with a glare. Tsunade's eyes widened. So this kid is Kushina's brat? You seem to have some kind of issue with my words. Can't take the truth? What truth? Yours? Why should I listen to some old drunk who looks like she washed out a long time ago? Naruto smirked when he saw Tsunade getting pissed. Uro-senin, we should probably get going. A pathetic alcoholic old lady like her could never be Hokage. She simply doesn't have what it takes. What was that, Yugaki? Tsunade slammed her hands on the table. Listen here. I'm the granddaughter of the Shodai and the grandniece of the Nidaime. I'm more than capable of being Hokage if I so desired. Naruto began to chuckle before it turned into a laugh. I already know of your heritage and I have to say, for someone with such a strong lineage, you're a big disappointment. You sit here wasting your days away drowning in sake. Really, your ancestors must be disgusted with the bitter old drunk you've become. That's it, Gaki. Let's take this outside. Tsunade stood up and walked out of the front door. Fine by me, you old hag. Naruto got out of the booth and followed Tsunade outside. Jiraiya sighed. Great, I somehow should have figured this would happen. Come on, Shizune, we need to make sure someone's there to pick up the pieces after this is all over. Naruto and Tsunade stood across each other in the middle of the street. The blonde Jinan was glad that it was so late at night and no one else was there. That meant he could really go all out, which was good because Naruto knew that to even get a hit on a Sannin he would need to use all the tricks in the book. Tsunade looked at him and smirked as she held up a finger. One finger is all I'll need to beat you. Naruto narrowed his eyes. He did not like being underestimated like that, but like his battle with Kisame he would make an exception. Okay, so I've got 3 advantages over her. The first is she is seriously underestimating me. The second is that she is really drunk, That will make her sloppy. And the third is she's obviously a decade or so out of practice, so she won't be as strong as Jiraiya. Tsunade, you really don't need to do this. Why don't you just calm down and we can talk things through, Jiraiya suggested. There's nothing to talk about, Jiraiya, and this Gaki needs to learn his place. Tsunade glared at the Toad Sannin. She's right, her Senin. Crabby old drunks like her need to learn that drowning themselves in alcohol only makes the situation worse, Naruto shot back. Tsunade ground her teeth as she glared at the much younger blonde. Before we get this little fight started, I just have one question. Why do you care about the Hokages so much? What kind of stupid-ass question is that? Naruto scoffed. It should be obvious. Being Hokage is my dream. Tsunade's eyes widened as she heard that, and for just a second she could see the figures of her dead lover Dan, and her little brother Nawaki, both of whom had the same dream as the blonde before her, standing behind him. The images disappeared quickly since Naruto, seeing her distracted, had decided to start the fight off. He charged at her with speeds that greatly surprised and shocked Tsunade, coming in quickly with an attempt to smash a fist in her gut. However, Tsunade was not a Sannin for nothing, and swatted the attack away with one finger as per her boast. With Naruto now off balance, she flicked him in the head with the same finger, only to be shocked when Naruto went up in a burst of smoke. It was then that another Naruto came in through the smoke. Tsunade reacted on instinct and attempted to finger flick him. However, due to how drunk Tsunade was, as well as the fact that she had not been in a serious fight for nearly a decade and a half, she was far slower than she should be. It also didn't help that Naruto, having speeds that could match those of Rock Lee, was more than capable of keeping ahead of her, at least for the moment. Naruto ducked under Tsunade's finger and came in, smashing Tsunade in the stomach with a double punch. The legendary healer grunted in pain as she skidded across the ground. The kid hit far harder than she thought he would. Looks like the first hit goes to me. Naruto gave her a vicious and bloodthirsty grin. I have to say, for being one of the three Sannin, you really suck. I guess your title of legendary sucker isn't just about how shitty you are at gambling. Tsunade glared at Naruto as she finished healing her bruised stomach. As soon as she was finished, she rushed at Naruto. Said blonde watched her. Despite being out of practice, she was still decently fast, and he knew that if she got even one hit on him, even if it was from just a finger, he would lose. Timing himself to her attack, Naruto waited until she had lashed out, using a minimal amount of effort to move her hand past his head. It was then that he came in with another punch, but this time Tsunade had sobered up enough that she reacted on instinct. She swatted his attack out of the way with her other hand, before finger flicking him. However, much like last time, Naruto merely disappeared in a puff of smoke, revealing himself to be a cage bunshine. It was then she felt someone behind her and saw another shock. A spinning purple ball of energy that she could name from a mile away was in Naruto's hand as he charged at her. Acting quickly, she smashed her finger on the ground and created a fissure that tripped Naruto up, causing the Rasengan in his hand to smash into the ground where it formed a ring, showing that the blonde had yet to master the technique. I take it you taught him that move, Jiraiya? Tsunade turned to glare on the white-haired man. Jiraiya shrugged. Well, of course I did. He's my apprentice, isn't he? That kind of implies I need to teach him something. Tsunade scoffed. We all know that only you and the Yondaime can use the technique. Teaching it to some kid who has no chance of actually learning it is just stupid. Before Jiraiya could open his mouth to respond, Naruto decided to get back into the picture. You think so, huh? That just goes to show you what you know. I'll have this technique mastered in no time flat. Just you watch, hag. Tsunade glared at the hag comment before grinning. Then why don't we have a little wager? If you can master the technique in 3 days, not only will I come back with you to be Hokage and admit that you've got what it takes to be my successor, but I'll also give you this necklace. Tsunade took a necklace with a green gem out of her shirt. And if I lose? Tsunade thought about it for a moment before grinning. You will give up on your dream of being Hokage, give me all of your money and go back to Konoha empty-handed. Naruto frowned. He wasn't much for jewelry. The only thing he wore was the necklace Haku had given him. However, as he looked at the necklace, he felt something call out to him. Alright, you've got yourself a deal, lady. I'll have this technique down in 3 days. Be sure to pack your bags in that time because I'm not going to lose. Hey Gaki, where are you going? Jiraiya asked as Naruto started stomping off. Naruto stopped and turned his head to his sensei. I'm going to start training. Gaki, it's the middle of the night. Let's find a hotel. You can train tomorrow, Jiraiya countered with a shake of his head. Naruto frowned for a moment before sighing. He was not really tired, but the man did have a point. Alright, fine, but if I'm gonna miss out on training thanks to this, I expect you to wake up bright and early tomorrow to help me. Jiraiya rolled his eyes. Alright Gaki, You got yourself a deal. I suggest you don't get yourself too comfortable here, Hag. Naruto looked at Tsunade. Given your shitty luck and the fact that I've never lost a bet, you can be sure as hell I won't lose to you here. Uzumaki, what would happen if Sasuke never showed up to fight Itachi? Well, I have to at least admit that I'm impressed you were able to land a hit on Migaki and to withstand a smack from Samada. You must have impressive pain tolerance, Kisame said before he turned look at his silent partner. Oi, Itachi. Weren't we told this kid was the dead last of his class or something? Dead last? Naruto asked with a laugh. Despite the small winds of pain it earned him from his still sore ribs, your intel agent obviously sucks balls if that's what he got. His information is about 6 months out of date. You do seem to be more skilled now. However, even with your recent increase in skill it will not be enough to deal with us, Itachi said as he looked at the blonde Jinan. Hey, you think so, huh? Asked Naruto with a smirk on his face. That smirk gave Itachi an ominous feeling. Naruto brought his hands up in a ram seal and gave the two S-ranked criminals an insane-looking grin. I'm going to beat the both of you in just one technique. I really didn't want to use this, but it seems you've left me no choice. A purple aura of Yuki formed around the blonde shinobi. Behold. My ultimate jutsu. Both Itachi and Kisame tensed as they felt the powerful chakra surrounding Naruto, however curiosity kept them from attacking. What could be so powerful that it could defeat two S-ranked ninja? What technique could a mere Jinan know that could beat people of their caliber? What could Hera know? Jutsu. What? Itachi and Kisame both asked as they were surrounded by a large puff of smoke. And when the smoke cleared, they were suddenly assaulted by hundreds of beautiful teenage blonde girls who began rubbing themselves against the pair of now stiff shinobi, whispering seductively in their ear as they described many of the Icha scenes from the first 3 books of the series. Oh, and they were completely naked. Now, both Itachi and Kisame had always had good control over themselves. Itachi was well known for his cold, nearly dead personality, and Kisame, while known to be violent and bloodthirsty, knew how to keep himself in check. However, both of them were still men, and still had the same urges that all men had. And having Kami only knew how many hot blonde female bodies pressed up against them was too much for them, or any man to take. Thus the pair were blown backwards with a pair of nosebleeds of such epic proportion that they ended up dying from blood loss. A puff of smoke later and all the blondes disappeared, leaving only Naruto standing there and scratching the back of his head in a confused manner. Huh, I guess that technique really is the deadliest jutsu known to man. The next day found Naruto getting himself ready to start training early in the morning. As he finished putting on all of his clothing and equipment, a knock came at the door. Walking over to the door, he opened it to find Shizune standing there. Shizune-san? He blinked a few times as he wondered why she was here. Is there something I can help you with? Shizune walked into his room when Naruto moved out of the way, placing her hands behind her back in a nervous gesture. I just wanted to talk to you about Tsunade-sama and this bet you made with her. Naruto raised an eyebrow. What is there to talk about? I don't think you truly know what this bet means. That necklace isn't some random piece of jewelry, it once belonged to the Shodai Hokage. A grin came onto Naruto's face. Well, if it once belonged to the Shodai, then that means I really have to win this bet. Shizune looked startled when Naruto said that. After all, if it's something that belonged to a Hokage, it's only fitting it finds its way to the future Hokage. Shizune actually had to smile a bit at the boy's confidence and determination. However, it soon went back into a frown. That necklace isn't something anyone can wear, Naruto-san. It's a cursed necklace, only Tsunade-sama can wear it. Because when other people wear it, they die. Naruto blinked a minute before he opened his mouth and started to laugh, much to the shock of Shizune. He wiped an errant tear from his eyes as he spoke. A cursed necklace, huh? That's certainly a new one, but you can't honestly expect me to believe something like that, can you? But it's true. Shizune looked at him imploringly. Tsunade-sama already tried giving that necklace away to 2 people. Her younger brother, and her old lover, my uncle. Both of them died the day after it was given to them. Naruto frowned for a moment before sighing and moving over to the bed. He gestured for Shizune to sit down, which after a little hesitation she did. Go ahead, I get the feeling you need to get this off your chest, so I'll listen. Just don't expect it to change my opinion about this bet. Shizune frowned a bit before going back to a neutral expression as she began her tale. You see, when Tsunade-sama was younger she had a little brother named Nawaki. It was actually his dream to be Hokage, and in order to help him reach his goal she gave him the very necklace you made that bet on. However, the day after she gave it to him, Nawaki's team was killed by a band of Iwa ninja. It was so bad that the only way they were even able to identify the body was because of the necklace they found on it. After that she had wanted to create a medical program to help keep casualty rates down. But since we were in the middle of the Second Shinobi War, the Sun Daime had opposed its creation, stating that Konoha did not have the resources necessary to create such a program. My uncle Dan, however, agreed with her. Out of all the people who heard of the program, he was the only one. Eventually the two started dating, and Dan told Tsunade-sama how it was his dream to become Hokage. Because of that, Tsunade-sama decided to place her faith in him, and she gave him the necklace. However, a day later the two of them had gone on a mission and Dan was. "I see," Naruto said as he saw Shizune wipe a stray tear from her eye. They stayed silent for a while after that until Shizune spoke again. "That's why you have to call off this bet, Naruto-san. That necklace is cursed, it will only let Tsunade-sama wear it." Naruto looked at her for a moment before snorting, "If that necklace is cursed, then I guess I'll just have to break the curse, won't I?" Shizune looked up at him in shock. "What? There's no way I'm letting something like this go. I'm not going back on this bet, especially now that you've told me this." Naruto stood up as he looked at Shizune. "I'm going to win that bet, she's going to give me that necklace, and she will come back to Konoha, even if I have to drag her sorry ass back kicking and screaming. Your master has lived in the past for far too long, it's time she faced up to reality and move on. Now if you'll excuse me, I have a bet to win." Shizune watched as Naruto left. When the door closed, an odd smile came to her face. "Maybe he can do it. You're later than I expected you to be, Gaki." Naruto grunted as he came upon the clearing where Jiraiya was. "Shizune-san wanted to talk to me about backing down from this bet. Now let's get started." Jiraiya nodded. "Alright then, show me how far you've come on the Rasengan." Naruto held up his hand and Jiraiya watched as a purple ball of chakra formed in it. Honestly, it was a most curious sight to him. He had never seen purple chakra before and he had to wonder why Naruto's was like that. His thoughts were taken from him when he watched the ball explode and had to hold in a wince when he saw the burn marks on Naruto's hand. "As you can see, I can only hold the shape for about 3 seconds, after that my power simply fluctuates and the jutsu loses its form." Naruto sighed as he clenched his hand for a few moments until his healing factor kicked in. "I don't even know what the problem is. It can't be my chakra control. Well, it's not the best, it's far better than most. But I don't know what else it could be. This is seriously one of the most frustrating jutsus I've ever had to try and make. It's like some kind of roadblock is on me for this one part, like I'm trying to look left and right at the same time. It's seriously beginning to piss me off." Jiraiya looked at Naruto for a few seconds before speaking. "You know, technically it is possible for you to look left and right at the same time." "Huh? How the hell would I do that? It's not like I've got 2 heads on my shoulders, or that my eyes have the ability to look in opposite directions." "Idiot." Jiraiya rolled his eyes as he made a cage bunshine, then looked left while his clone looked right. "See, I'm looking left, while my clone looks right." Naruto blinked for a few seconds as he looked at Jiraiya after his clone dispelled. After a moment or two a large grin came to his face. "Uro-sennin, you're a genius." "Well, of course I am. I am the great Jiraiya-sama after all." "Ha ha ha ha." He trailed off for after a while before scratching the back of his head. "So why am I a genius?" He did not get an answer as Naruto created a cage bunshine and held out his hand. He began to channel his Yuki through his hand, creating a spinning ball of energy. However, Naruto only dealt with the rotation and power aspect of the jutsu. Meanwhile, Naruto's clone began applying the shape, making sure that the sphere that held all of the destructive energy was stable. Jiraiya watched in a mixture of amusement and shock as Naruto created a perfect Rasengan in his hand. Unbelievable. This kid found his own way to create the jutsu from just what I said. "Not bad at all, Gaki. I can't believe you actually mastered the Rasengan like that." Naruto frowned as he looked at Jiraiya. "What do you mean mastered? This jutsu is practically useless as it is now. I not only have to make a clone just to create it, but it also takes several seconds to form. If I was fighting anyone above Chunin level, they would slaughter me before I could form the jutsu." Naruto created another clone and sat down, holding out his hand as they began forming the Rasengan again. "This jutsu isn't mastered until I can create it with one hand and in less than 1 second. Until I can do that, I won't even consider this jutsu as being a viable option for combat, much less something to show that old hag so I can win that bet." "Back in Konoha, are you alright, Tenten-san?" Tenten looked over at her teammate Neji as they walked towards their respective homes. They had both just finished visiting Lee in the hospital, a surprising turn of events considering Neji had never liked Lee in the first place. Though she had to admit that her Hyuga teammate had been a lot different since his battle and complete beatdown at the hands of one Uzumaki Naruto. "Yeah, I'm fine. Why do you ask?" It was actually kind of odd, having her teammate, who had always been a prick to everyone, being nice to her for a change. Because you look distracted, Neji shrugged indifferently. And you're a terrible liar, I can tell something is bothering you. Tenten frowned for a moment before sighing, I haven't been able to find Naruto ever since the Sandaime's funeral service. It's like he dropped off the map. I tried looking for him a little while ago, and apparently he left with Jiraiya of the Sannin to go on some kind of mission. Neji looked at Tenten for a moment as he digested the information she gave him, and you're upset that he did not come to find you and tell you he would be leaving, correct? Well, yes, Tenten admitted. Actually, she had been downright furious, as the training field she and her team used could attest to, when she had found out that he had left without telling her. Ever since she had seen how lost and vulnerable he had looked at the Sandaime's funeral, she had been worried for the blonde. That he would just up and leave without even letting her know was frustrating, reminded her much of the time he came back from his first C rank. I would not be too upset, Tenten. If he was with Jiraiya-sama, then it must have been a mission of great importance. Tenten glared at the white-eyed prodigy, I know that. But he still could have given me the common courtesy of at least saying goodbye. He's always doing this. Being completely inconsiderate of the feelings of others, especially when they're worried about him. Neji decided not to say anything more on the subject. He knew that when his teammate got on about something, very little, if anything at all, could ever get her to change her opinion. Perhaps, but there might have been extenuating circumstances. Neji changed direction towards the Hyuga compound. I would not be too harsh until I received all of the facts, Tenten. Tanzakugai, Naruto dispelled his cage bunshine and sorted through the information in his head. Holding out his hand, he tried to make the Rasengan one-handed, only to fail. The jutsu was getting increasingly frustrating, especially since he had been at this for 2 days and nothing he tried seemed to let him master it. Though, he was pleased to see he no longer burned his hand when the jutsu dispelled. Of course, it did not help that he refused to use his cage bunshine any more than he already was on the jutsu. For whatever reason, he felt it was imperative that he get this down on his own, otherwise it would be like he had cheated on the bet. That was not to say that he did not have cage bunshine working on other things while he did this. Currently, Naruto had about 300 clones doing their normal routine. Since he had mastered many jutsu as well as the highest form of chakra control he knew, he had taken to splitting them off into other tasks. One was to start working on his own jutsu. He already knew the functions of hand signs, so they were trying to brainstorm for new ideas. He was actually having them try to find a way to make a jutsu similar to Kakashi's Chidori except with wind. Since while Jiraiya said that the Rasengan made the Chidori look like child's play, there were also two very different jutsu, with the Chidori being a piercing attack and the Rasengan being a grinding attack. The others were simply continuing with his wind manipulation, trying to find different ways of utilizing wind for combat, as well as working on mastering his wind jutsu to the point where he could do them without hand seals. Sighing, Naruto created another cage bunshine and held out his hand, creating another Rasengan before dispersing it and making it again. A little ways away, Tsunade stood hiding behind a boulder as she watched him train. The next morning, Naruto awoke with a groan. Opening his eyes, he blinked a few times and frowned when he found himself on his bed. How did I get here? He wondered, as he did not remember walking back from the training ground. In fact, the last thing he remembered was experimenting with the Rasengan when. Son of a bitch! Naruto muttered as he sat up in his bed. Note to self, do not try and make a big-ass spinning ball of Yuki without adult supervision. Naruto stood up from his bed and was about to go to the bathroom when he ended up tripping over a lump in the room. He was about to curse again when he heard the lump groan. Looking over, he found Shizune lying on the floor, making it obvious that it was she he had tripped over. He went up to Shizune and gently shook her awake. Shizune-san? Shizune-san? Shizune let loose another groan as she blinked her eyes open. Naruto-san? Her eyes promptly widened as she shot to her feet, scaring the shit out of Naruto and knocking him on his ass. You're awake. What day is it? Naruto blinked for a moment as he rubbed his sore backside. It's Saturday, Shizune-san. Why? Is there something wrong? Saturday? Shizune looked at Naruto in surprise, but that means you've only been out for a few hours. Tsunade-sama said it would take at least 2 days for you to wake up from the damage you did to your body. Damage? Naruto asked before remembering that his experiment with the Rasengan had sent him flying through a boulder and smacking him around something fierce. He shrugged the knowledge off. Well, considering what I contain, you shouldn't honestly be too surprised. He trailed off for a moment as he looked at her. You do know I contain the Kyuubi, right? Of course, but what does that have to do with? She trailed off as she realized what he was saying. It was then she remembered what had happened last night. Tsunade-sama. We've got to stop Tsunade-sama. Whoa. Slow down. Naruto placed a hand on her shoulder, keeping her from leaving. You're saying the hag did this to you? Shizune nodded, that's right, and we have to catch up to her before it's too late. I take it she's meeting with the heavy douche Orochimaru today then? Shizune looked at him in surprise, yes, but how did you know? Naruto shrugged as he let go of her shoulder, when we got here I smelled snakes at the destroyed castle. Only 2 people I know of have that smell and one of them is in Konoha. Shizune nodded at that as she started making her way to the window. We have to find Tsunade-sama before it's too late to stop her. However, as Shizune left to go out the window a kunai implanted itself right next to her head. Naruto and Shizune turned to see Jiraiya hunched over and slightly pale. Where's Tsunade? His voice was raspy as he slinked over to the pair. Naruto looked at the man for a moment, damn Uro-sennin. What the hell happened to you? Tsunade slipped me a Mickey, Jiraiya grunted. I should have known better when she asked me to drink with her last night. She's never asked me to do that with her in all the time we've known each other. And thus you make my point about becoming putty for whatever chick who so much as bats her eyelashes at you Uro-sennin. Naruto grinned as Jiraiya gave him a mild glare. Meanwhile Shizune had gone back inside to get some pills which she proceeded to crush in a glass of water and give to the white-haired sage. Here you go Jiraiya-sama. I'm afraid it's not much of a cure, but it should at least help you out. Thanks Shizune, Jiraiya rasped out as he downed the glass. This is just great, Naruto groaned, so what exactly does the heavy douche want with Bachan? Orochimaru wants Tsunade-sama to heal his arms for him. He offered to return Tsunade-sama's most precious people to her by bringing them back from the dead. Today is the day they're supposed to meet. Naruto grimaced, I hadn't realized such a thing was possible. How you feeling Uro-sennin? Jiraiya crushed the glass in his hands, my chakra is still completely out of whack but it will have to do. Shizune-san, is there any way to find Tsunade? Shizune nodded as she grabbed Tauntaun and jumped down to the ground with the 2 Konoha ninja following her after that. Tauntaun, we need you to find Tsunade-sama, think you can help us out? The small pampered pig oinked in what sounded like a yes before it wiggled its way out of Shizune's grip. It sniffed the air a couple of times before turning to Shizune and oinking at her, right before it started running off. Shizune turned to look at the other 2, Tauntaun has her scent, let's get going. The pair followed Tauntaun back to the old destroyed castle, only to find it was even more of a wreck than when they first saw it. They noted that the destruction was much newer than before, and Naruto noted something else when he took several sniffs of the air. The scent of snakes is much heavier than last time, I can also smell sake and antiseptic, which means the old bat was here too. And judging from the mass amounts of new destruction I would hazard a guess that she turned him down. That might not be so good for her, Jiraiya grimaced. The heavy team always has a backup plan of some kind, so we need to find her before things get too hot for her to handle. The trio plus 1 pig were off once again, following the scent of snakes and alcohol when they reached a clearing. Within that clearing they found Tsunade with blood caking her face and being beaten on by the person Naruto recognized as Kabuto, the Jonin from the Chunin exams. Tsunade-sama, Shizune shouted as she ran over to her mistress. Naruto did not quite know what was going on, but he already figured out enough to know what he had to do. Reacting on instinct, the blonde pointed his gauntlet at Kabuto and fired off several dozen senbon that had a powerful poison on them, courtesy of Anko, at the white-haired traitor. He forced Kabuto to jump back and allow Shizune to go up to her master and start wiping away the blood. I have to admit I'm surprised to see you here Kabuto, though from your headband it's not hard to figure out what's going on, eh, traitor? Naruto walked in front of Shizune and the currently unresponsive Tsunade. Hello Naruto-kun, I'm not surprised you were able to guess this. Orochimaru-sama spoke highly of your intelligence. Kabuto pushed his glasses up his nose. Naruto narrowed his eyes dangerously as he looked from Kabuto to his master. Now that he was up close, the blonde could see that Orochimaru's arms were blackened and oozing blood. Well, it looks like Hokage Oji-san really did a number on you, didn't he, Pedo-team? Kukaku, you are quite amusing Naruto-kun, Orochimaru chortled as he looked at the boy. I must say you really are quite an impressive specimen. Coming from you, I'm not really sure if that's a compliment or not, Naruto shot back. He turned his head to look at Tsunade, who was still completely out of it. Uro-sennin, what's wrong with Bachan? Is it some sort of weird genjutsu or something? Jiraiya shook his head. Tsunade has hemophobia, she's afraid of blood, and even the mere sight of it messes her up. She'll be unresponsive for at least a few hours. You're kidding, Naruto looked shocked. You're telling me the greatest medic and healer in the elemental nations is afraid of blood? What kind of medic nin is afraid of blood? Jiraiya sighed. It's a long story and right now we don't really have time to talk about it, in case you haven't realized. Naruto looked a bit embarrassed by that and turned his attention back to the 2 ninja before them. Right. Kukaku, I would ask what you two are doing here, but it seems painfully obvious. Orochimaru chuckled. Jiraiya held a hand out in front of Naruto. "Kid, this fight is going to be in a level beyond you. Protect Tsunade while Shizune and I deal with Orochimaru and his glasses-wearing partner." Naruto looked at Jiraiya for a second before sighing, "Fine, but if things get hairy don't expect me to just sit on my ass." "That's fine, Shizune will handle Whitey over there while I take care of Orochimaru." Jiraiya looked over at Shizune who gave him a nod and switched places with Naruto. Orochimaru looked amused by their conversation. "You think you can take me on, Jiraiya? We all know that you have always been the weakest of the three of us. And it's a good thing you're not sending Naruto-kun over to me, after all, he can't do anything if I don't want him to. If you're talking about that little hickey you tried to give me then you're shit out of luck, pedo team," Naruto said as he pulled away his cloak and shirt over his neck, revealing unblemished tan skin. "That cursed seal might have taken hold on someone who's drowning in his own darkness and delusions of grandeur like Sasuke team, but I don't have such a problem. Unless you count my deranged other half." Naruto did not mention that out loud and just grinned as he saw Orochimaru look at him in shock, and then anger. "It matters not. You were merely a pawn that I was hoping to use. All that truly matters in the end is that I get Sasuke-kun." "Well, that's good I suppose. I really didn't want to be your ass muppet anyways. I prefer members of the opposite gender," Naruto shot back. Orochimaru scowled. "I see he picked up Jiraiya's wit. I'm getting rather tired of this. Do it now, Kabuto." Kabuto pulled off the bandages on one of Orochimaru's arm and the Sanin's blood down the summoning tattoo that was found on it, Kushios no Jutsu. Kabuto and Orochimaru could now be found on top of a giant three-headed snake that was quickly heading for the group of Konoha ninja. Jiraiya went through his own hand seals as he tried to summon, only for there to be a small puff of smoke and Namikaze to pop out. "Huh? Oh, hey there. How ya doing?" Naruto sweat dropped. "Are you serious, Urasenin? I can do better than that. You need to get in the game. Give me some room, Gaki." Jiraiya scowled as he went through a set of hand seals and slammed his hands on the ground. "Doten, Yomi Numa, Earth Release, Swamp of the Underworld." The ground in front of him liquefied and turned into a murky and muddy-looking substance, disabling their movement. Jiraiya cursed, "Damn it. It wasn't deep enough to drown them. Looks like Tsunade's drug hasn't worn off. Phew Uten, Kamikaze no Tatsumaki." Jiraiya looked over to see a tornado erupt from Naruto's fist and smash right into the snake, shredding its head to small pieces. "Not bad, Gaki." Naruto grinned at the compliment before jumping back towards Tsunade, taking Namikaze with him. As Shizune rushed towards Kabuto, Naruto watched as the two fights kicked off, with Jiraiya and Orochimaru moving further away as they battled. He turned his main attention towards the fight between Shizune and Kabuto, watching as the pair of medic nin fought in their own styles. Shizune was more of a distance fighter, using a senbon launcher similar to his own and poison-type jutsus, not to say she was a slouch at taijutsu, but when Kabuto used his chakra scalpels in close Naruto knew who was better there. He made sure to watch the fight and analyze the white-haired traitor's fighting style in case he needed to jump in. Which the opportunity soon came when Kabuto managed to use Doten, Magarakur no Jutsu, Earth Release, Hiding Mole Jutsu, to move underground, after Shizune had released a cloud of poison gas, and had managed to get behind the woman and sever the tendons of her Achilles heel. Naruto made two quick clones to keep Tsunade safe while he made his move. Kabuto was just about to land a finishing blow on Shizune with his chakra scalpels. However, before he could, a foot suddenly implanted itself into the side of his head, sending him flying back with a great deal of force. He managed to right himself so that he landed on his feet. Even still, he was forced to use chakra as he skidded across the ground, creating two small trenches with his feet. Naruto kneeled down next to Shizune, who was trying to heal her wounded heels. "You alright, Shizune-san?" "I'm fine, thank you, Naruto-kun," Shizune said, grimacing a bit as her wound refused to heal quickly enough. Naruto noticed this and created a cage Bunshin who, much to the woman's protest, lifted her up in a bridal carry. "Take a load off while I deal with this guy, Shizune-chan." The blonde cracked his neck a bit as he prepared for a fight. Shizune did not get a chance to respond as the clone Naruto ran off with her, heading towards Tsunade as Kabuto came closer. "That was very admirable of you, Naruto-kun, getting yourself involved in a battle you have no chance of winning." Naruto scoffed. "I wouldn't make the same mistake of underestimating me that everyone else seems to enjoy doing these days." Kabuto smirked as he pushed his glasses up. "Oh, I'm not. I know very well what you're capable of from Orochimaru-sama and your little display during the Chunin exams. However, I'm on par with Hatake Kakashi, while you are still a Genin, a talented one but still just a Genin." Well then, let's see if I can't get you to sing a different tune after I break off my foot in your ass." Naruto flicked wrists and summoned a pair of kunai into them, not that Kabuto could see with his large cloak covering his form. "Very well then, why don't you show me how you intend to do this? I'm in need of some new entertainment after all." Kabuto activated his chakra scalpels. "Gladly." Naruto threw both kunai and went into a set of hand seals. Kunai Kage Bushin no Jutsu. 2 kunai became 20 as they headed for Kabuto, who began to dodge them with relative ease. When they all passed, he just scoffed, "I hope you can do better than that." Kabuto ran at Naruto, not catching the small smirk on the blonde's face. Thanks to the fact that Naruto's hands could not be seen under his cloak, Kabuto had no clue that Naruto was manipulating his kunai to come back with chakra strings. It was only years of training that saved Kabuto from being impaled from behind. He swerved out of the way of the kunai, rolling to the left and coming back up on his feet. Unfortunately for him, Naruto knew better than to play around with someone who Orochimaru trusted enough to help in his missions, and was already right in the traitor's face. Naruto launched a knee at Kabuto that the older teen was simply too slow to block. It hit him in the face, and there was a sickening crunch as the cartilage of Kabuto's nose broke, and then he was sent reeling backwards. Not wanting to let up and allow Kabuto any time to actually get his act together, Naruto linked his fists together and thrust them out. Futon, Kamikaze Seiken. There was a ripple of air that flew at high speeds towards Kabuto, smacking him and sending him flying backwards where he skidded along the ground. Naruto watched as Kabuto got up with a small trickle of blood running down his mouth. "That was a pretty good hit, Naruto-kun. Orochimaru-sama was right about your skills. It's only too bad that Mark didn't stick, or I would have been able to let you live." Naruto rolled his eyes as he watched Kabuto heal himself. "So you say, but I have yet to see you land a hit on me. From what I can tell, you're a medic nin and close combat specialist who uses chakra scalpels to defeat your opponents. Whereas I, on the other hand, would be considered a mid to close range taijutsu and ninjutsu specialist, though I have a fair few long range attacks. All I need to do is not let you get close enough to utilize those scalpels of yours and I'm good. You say that like it's going to be easy. Do not forget that I happen to be a Jonin level shinobi, Naruto-kun." Kabuto stood up all the way as he finished healing. He knew now that he could not afford to take Naruto lightly. "Could you stop calling me kun? Seriously, it's creepy enough when Guy and Lee call me that, but at least I know they're straight." Naruto paused. "Well, Lee's straight seeing as he has a crush on Sakura. Anyway, the last thing I need is for someone who likes to be used as an ass muppet for some pedophilic snake with a fetish for little boys to call me that." Kabuto scowled. "Don't talk about Orochimaru-sama like that. You can't even hope to understand his greatness and power." Naruto grinned. "You know, from the way you're defending him, it seems like I've struck home. Perhaps there is more to what I said than I thought, seeing as how you never denied my accusation." Kabuto rushed Naruto, moving surprisingly fast. The blonde was more than glad he had trained with Jiraiya, who was far faster. Reacting before Kabuto could get too close, Naruto sent several kunai at him, already beginning 2 sets of hand seals using one-handed seals for each hand. Kunai Kage Bushin no Jutsu. Raiten, Kaminari Shuriken. The kunai quickly multiplied into several dozen right before they all burst with lightning that rained down at Kabuto as they passed. The medic nin was forced to do his best to dodge the attacks, allowing Naruto enough time to make several clones that he sent out to engage Kabuto. Shizune looked at her master and sighed. She had managed to clean all of the blood off of her master, but Tsunade was still not responding to any outside stimuli. She looked at her Achilles tendons, which were now healed if a bit swollen. Despite her proficiency as a medic nin, she was not as good at healing muscle groups as she was other areas. She looked back over towards the battle, worried about whether or not Naruto would need her help. She was pleasantly surprised to find that he seemed to be holding his own against Orochimaru's right-hand man. She watched as Kabuto was sent sailing backwards and rolling along the ground. Shizune was sure that if Kabuto were not a skilled medic nin, he would have fallen by now. Tsunade had likewise taken to watching the battle, not that she could do much else. With her being completely incapable of actually moving any muscle in her body, and having already been facing the area of the battle since the beginning, she was naturally subjected to watching the fight play out. When she had first met the blonde, she had been utterly enraged by his attitude and the disrespect that he showed her. However, when they had their first battle, she had been completely caught off guard when he showed that he was more than he looked. It also did not help that in that first battle, he had reminded her so much of both her younger brother and her dead lover that it almost hurt. She had then watched him train after the bet and was once again shocked by his method, using Kage Bunshin to speed up the process of his training, as well as how he had created a Rasengan using a Kage Bunshin to help his control. Tsunade had been even more impressed when he did not use that same method of mass cage bunshin training to actually use the Yondaime's prize jutsu one-handed, but rather attempted to accomplish it the honorable way. Man, look at that. Naruto ni is kicking some serious ass. Gamakichi watched with a grin on his face. This boy reminded her so much of the two people she had cherished the most that she could practically see them standing behind the blonde, from their dreams to become Hokage, to their determination. Tsunade clutched the necklace around her neck. Just one more time. Let me believe, just one more time. As soon as Kabuto had defeated all of the clones, Naruto came back into the picture, launching a kick into his opponent's gut. It was to Naruto's shock that Kabuto turned into a pile of mud. Damn it. Naruto twisted to the side as Kabuto came up behind him using the Magaraku no Jutsu. He managed to dodge a potentially fatal blow, but was still hit in the arm. He hissed a bit as he jumped back, letting his left arm dangle limply. You see now, don't you? Kabuto asked in a mild tone. You're no match for me. You may be able to compete with some of the jonin out there, but not one of my level. Keep talking, buddy. It will only make the look on your face that much more priceless when I wipe it off. Naruto tried to stall for time as his impressive healing factor worked his magic. I suppose I'll just have to beat you even more to prove my point. Kabuto activated his scalpels again and moved to engage Naruto. The blonde soon found himself on the defensive as he did his best to keep out of reach of Kabuto's scalpels. Using a modified version of the Hebikan that Anko used. He was fortunate it was different enough from Orochimaru's standard style that Kabuto could not use the Snake Sanin's taijutsu as a basis, or Naruto would have been hit by now. As it was, Naruto was able to dodge all of the incoming attacks while his arm finished healing. Ready to fight back, Naruto made a cage bunshin and Kawarimi'd with it, giving him a small amount of breathing room. As Kabuto charged towards him, Naruto came up with a plan to beat the medic nin. Reaching into his pouch, Naruto pulled out a smoke bomb and threw it in front of himself, letting the smoke overtake his position. Kabuto ceased his charge, knowing it would be foolish to just head right into the smoke screen, as it was probably what the blonde wanted. Instead, he stayed on guard, waiting to see what Naruto's next move would be. It came in the form of several shuriken being tossed at Kabuto, forcing him to jump away and to the left. After that, 6 cage bunshins shot out of the smoke screen, engaging Kabuto in a fierce taijutsu battle. The battle was a lot tougher than Kabuto had expected. While a cage bunshin would always go up with just one hit, they also had almost all of their originator's abilities, with somewhere around half of their physical prowess being reduced thanks to that same one-hit kill factors. It also did not help that their teamwork was impeccable. Kabuto managed to duck under a strike from one of the clones on the left, when he suddenly found the knee of another clone right in his face, sending him stumbling back. He channeled medical chakra to his nose as 2 more clones came at him from the left and right. He tilted his body back as he let the attack from the clone on the left fly past his head. Then swerved to the left as the other cage bunshin attacked with a kick. By this point, the white-haired medic had gotten used to the way the clones would attack. There would always be at least 2 of them coming in from the left and right. They would attack at the same time, and when Kabuto managed to dodge them, another clone would be waiting in the wing, either behind him, or right in his face and already attacking. This would normally leave no time for Kabuto to attack. However, this time he prepared himself, and as he dodged the swing from a clone on the right, a left-right combination from the clone on the left, Kabuto spun around and swatted away the attack from the clone behind him. Because he was using chakra scalpels, the block effectively killed the clone, making it go up in a puff of smoke. After that, he managed to defeat the other clones with little effort. However, it was right after he beat the last cage bunshin that 2 pairs of hands shot up from the ground and grabbed him. What the? 2 more cage bunshin appeared behind him and latched onto his hands, forcing them away so that he could not use them for attack. Finally, he saw Naruto in front of him, just several feet away, with a grin on his face. Kabuto grimaced a bit but kept his smile up. So it looks like I underestimated you more than I thought. He tried to activate his chakra scalpels and frowned when he found himself incapable of directing chakra to his hands. Naruto's grin widened. Damn right you did, and now it's too late for you to do anything. I'm sure by now you've noticed that you can't use those blasted chakra scalpels of yours. The grin widened a bit when he saw Kabuto's eyes widen. That's right, my clones placed a pair of chakra disruption seals in your hands. I would have just had them disrupt your whole system, but they don't have the chakra necessary for that. Not like it matters anyway. I just need you to stand still and be my guinea pig for this new jutsu I learned. I've never used it on a human before, so you'll have to tell me what it feels like, if you survive. With that said, Naruto held out a hand and began charging his Yuki into it. Kabuto's eyes widened as he recognized the famed jutsu that the blonde had just created and began to struggle even more. Not that it did any good. While he may have been a tad faster, Naruto was a lot stronger, as were his clones. Naruto began a slow pace towards Kabuto, picking it up into a light jog before it turned into a full-on sprint. When Naruto got close, he thrust his hand out, Rasengan. Naruto ignored the gore that splattered across his face as the jutsu tore into Kabuto's skin and muscles. The medic nin was eventually sent flying straight into a nearby boulder that shattered upon impact. Giving off a toothy grin, Naruto turned around and walked towards Tsunade with a purpose. He held out both hands, one of them empty except for some of the blood that Kabuto had got all over him, and the other holding a perfectly spinning sphere of purple Yuki. He stopped right in front of a stunned Tsunade who was staring up at him in shock. "Well, Bachan, it looks like your title of legendary sucker holds true. I believe that necklace is now mine, so pay up." "Huh? Would you look at that?" Jiraiya grinned as he saw Kabuto get sent flying from Naruto's attack. "It looks like the Gaki is even better than I thought he would be. What do you think, team?" Orochimaru looked from Naruto to Jiraiya and then back again. He gritted his teeth. "Such power does not belong in the hands of one I cannot control. He must die before he becomes a hindrance to my plans." Orochimaru flew towards Naruto with Jiraiya following close behind in an effort to stop him. Unfortunately for Jiraiya, Tsunade's drug had yet to ward off. Therefore, he was unable to dodge Orochimaru when the snake Sannin latched a tongue around his ankle, pulling the Dode Sannin towards the ground where he landed with a crash. Orochimaru continued on unimpeded as his sword stuck out of his mouth, hoping to catch Naruto while the boy's back was turned. Naruto's grin dropped as his senses went off, which was fortunate as it allowed Naruto to dodge the incoming attack. What was unfortunate was that Naruto, despite being fast, was no match for a Sannin. He managed to dodge any grievous injuries, but the blade still managed to impale him, going right through his collarbone. All eyes widened as the Kusanagi blade was found going straight through Naruto. Naruto himself held back a yelp of pain and looked down to see the sword sticking through his shoulder. His eyes flashed red for a moment and Naruto let out a roar that sounded more demon than human as he whirled himself around, forcing the blade out of him. Gripping his shoulder, Naruto dropped to his knees as he felt his healing factor fighting against the poison. "Naruto-kun. KQB?" Naruto was surprised to hear the vixen's voice after several days. "I'm right here. Hang on one second, I'm flushing the poison." The redhead's voice sounded more frantic than he had ever heard it as she began actively channeling her Yuki into the wound to flush the poison faster. "How long will that take?" "About 5 minutes to flush the poison. The wound will take longer to heal though because this type of poison causes necrosis." Naruto gave a mental nod and sent his thanks to Kyuubi when he felt a hand on his shoulder. He looked at the hand to see it glowing green with medical chakra. Following the hand, he saw that it belonged to Tsunade, who was looking at him with concentration and worry. "Bachan?" Tsunade grunted. "You okay, Gaki?" Despite the stinging, Naruto gave her a grin. "Ha. It will take more than a little poison to keep me down." Tsunade actually found herself smiling at the brave face Naruto put on, not quite realizing that what he said was true. Even if Kyuubi had refused to heal him, his own natural healing would keep him from dying. It would just take longer. As Tsunade continued her work, Naruto saw Orochimaru coming at them from behind Tsunade with the Kusanagi still sticking in his mouth. Not really thinking about what he was doing, Naruto pushed Tsunade out of the way. This move, while brave and managed to save Tsunade from fatal injury, it could not save Naruto from getting wounded. The Kusanagi blade managed to pierce Naruto on the right side of his chest, nearly nicking his heart. Naruto heard both Tsunade's scream on the outside and Kyuubi's scream inside of his mind. However, it was too hazy to actually make out what they were saying out. Instead, he looked up from the sword that was piercing him to see the smug face of Orochimaru. It was then that something inside of him snapped. With a loud roar that was anything but human, Naruto pulled back his fist and launched it at the now shocked face of Orochimaru. The attack hit dead on and everyone could hear the squelch as the pale-skinned man's face caved in. The man had let go of the Kusanagi as he was sent rocketing away, skidding along the ground and creating a trench. Naruto looked down at the sword, grabbing onto it and yanking it out before he threw it in the dirt. When he looked back up, his eyes were not the blue that most people saw, nor even the red that signified Kyuubi's Yuki being used. They were purple with black slits running down the middle. His transformation soon became more than just his eyes as his whisker marks began to thicken, becoming jagged lines much like when he was using Kyuubi's Yuki. His ears became pointed at the tips, making them look akin to elf ears. His nails grew thicker, longer and sharper along with his canines. However, it was his hair that had the most drastic change, going from its golden blonde to deep blood red and lengthening. It swept back over his forehead and then began to move down, segmenting into 10 separate spikes that looked reminiscent of tails. Everyone there was too shocked by this transformation to do anything more than gape. None of them had ever seen this kind of thing happen before. It was similar to the transformation that the Inuzuka went through. But they could easily tell it was much different. They would have chalked it up to using Kyuubi's Yuki, however it did not give off the same feel as Kyuubi's power. It still held bloodlust, but it was much more manageable and was not quite as powerful either. Still, it was enough that everyone in the clearing were in awe of the amount of pure energy the boy radiated. However, Naruto noticed none of this, and as he looked at Orochimaru and reared his fist back. With a quick thrust his fist came forward, before launching out a large purple claw made purely from Yuki. It ran straight for Orochimaru, who after watching the spiky-haired blonde's transformation in shock managed to pull himself together and attempted to dodge the claw. However, when he moved, said appendage followed and the Sannin was far slower than he normally was thanks to the pain in his arms and his battle with Jiraiya, allowing the Yuki appendage to latch onto him and pull the man towards the now red-headed Jinan. Naruto's left hand flashed out in a spear tip and managed to slice straight through Orochimaru like butter. It was only thanks to the snake Sannin opening his mouth and regurgitating himself like a snake shedding skin at the last second that he did not get speared through the heart. Everyone watched as Naruto turned to Orochimaru, waiting to see what he would do next. Said blonde turned to look at the pale-skinned man, and took a step forward only to fall flat on his face as he passed out, his body going back to normal. The action seemed to snap everybody out of their stupor and caused Orochimaru to rush Naruto in the hopes of killing him. However, he was intercepted by both Jiraiya and Tsunade, with the latter smashing a fist into his face and the former standing in front of Naruto in a guard position. Orochimaru stood up where he was and glared at Tsunade. "Why are you protecting that gaki Tsunade? You owe him nothing. Why am I protecting him?" Said woman looked at the unconscious, now blonde again, Jinan, who was being attended to by Shizune, and her eyes softened. They hardened an instant later as she turned back to Orochimaru. "I'm protecting him because I'm Senju Tsunade, granddaughter of the Shodai Hokage, grandniece of the Nidaime Hokage, and as of today I am the Godime Hokage of Konoha no Sato." With a small groan, Naruto opened his eyes. The first thing he realized was that he was in the seal, as evidenced by the walls with the seals all over them, meaning he was in Kyuubi's house. He sat up and looked around for all of 5 seconds before he spotted said vixen standing at the foot of the bed with a blank expression on her face and her arms crossed. "Kyuubi," Naruto said as he swung his legs over the edge of the bed and stood up, glad that he could not feel the pain of whatever had happened to him. "Did you bring me here?" When the woman did not answer him but just continued to stare, he sighed. "I suppose you're still upset, though that does beg the question of why I'm here." "You're here because I brought you here," Kyuubi finally said. "Because I had to heal your sorry ass for doing something so foolish as to get in front of a sword without defending yourself." "Huh, so that's why I'm unconscious," Naruto said, rubbing his chest as he remembered the sword that pierced him. "I suppose I owe you my thanks, though from the look on your face I doubt you really care what I say, so I'll save my breath." Kyuubi bared her teeth at him. "Do not give me any lip, you damn brat. You are so lucky that I'm inside of you right now. Without me you would be dead." However, Naruto had no intention of letting this woman walk all over him. "Without you I might not even be in this situation now, would I?" Naruto once again found himself pressed to a wall as Kyuubi glared at him. "Shut up. I'll admit that maybe some of this was my fault. Maybe had I found some way to counter that man's." She stopped herself before moving on to a different venue. "Had I not been forced to attack Konoha, none of this would have happened. But it did happen, and it's not as if I wanted to attack your pathetic excuse for a village, or be sealed inside of you. But I did attack Konoha, and I am sealed inside of you." Her glare intensified as she saw Naruto looking at her with an uninterested look. "The past does not change the fact that your damn recklessness nearly got us killed. And if you do not stop this foolish act I am going to make you regret it." "You can't threaten me, Kyuubi," Naruto stated. "We both know that your power here is not what it would be outside thanks to the seals. Don't try and attack." He was cut off as Kyuubi used her impressive strength to slam him into the wall, causing the entire room to shake. Now that her Yuki had managed to fully restore itself, Kyuubi let it loose and Naruto paled, realizing that her power was now far beyond what he had felt before. The amount of power she was releasing was enough that Naruto did not even think of how he might be able to contain it. "You ungrateful little monkey," Kyuubi roared as she reared back a fist covered in red Yuki. Naruto closed his eyes as he waited for the strike to hit him. Had he not been frightened out of his wits, he might have realized that she could not do much to him for fear of killing herself. However, right now none of that was on his mind as he waited for Kyuubi's fist to pulverize him. Thus, when several minutes had passed and his head was not a bloody smear on the wall, he became curious and opened his eyes. The half-demon blinked in surprise a few times as he saw Kyuubi's fist still reared back, her other hand still around his throat. However, his greatest surprise was when his eyes landed on Kyuubi's face. Tears of frustration were trailing out of them, falling down her cheeks, and she seemed to be having some kind of great internal struggle with herself. After several more minutes she dropped Naruto, letting him fall on his ass. Looking up, the blonde saw Kyuubi take several steps back before she too sank to the ground and her body began to shake uncontrollably. After several seconds Naruto began to tentatively move towards the redhead, wondering what was going on with her. As he closed the distance he was surprised to see teardrops falling onto the floor, and heard the small chocked sobs that were coming from the woman. "Kyuubi?" he asked, only to gape when Kyuubi looked up and he saw her eyes, now getting slightly puffy. They were not the same eyes he had usually seen on the vindictive and arrogant woman. Eyes that spoke of great arrogance and had a teasing, sadistic and vicious quality all mixed up in one. No, these eyes were confused, depressed, and made her look incredibly vulnerable. He opened his mouth to speak but Kyuubi beat him to it. "Why can't I hate you?" "What?" asked Naruto in confusion. "I should hate you. Everything you stand for is my antithesis, that damned selflessness of yours. You're the person I was sealed into, and that damned kindness of yours almost got me killed." Kyuubi looked at him and her face was twisted in a look of anger, sadness and frustration. "I should hate you for being me, container, for being who you are." The red-headed woman bit back a chocked sob as she closed her eyes and looked back down at the ground. "So why? Why can't I hate you? Why do I feel this way? What is it about you that makes me feel this way?" Naruto listened to the woman in growing confusion. He did not understand what she was talking about. Her words were jumbled and it seemed obvious to Naruto that she did not even know what she was feeling. But there were two things he got from her. The first was that she did not hate him. He was both surprised and not so surprised. True, they had not started on the best of terms, but during the 1-month period before the Chunin exams they had gotten along decently, well enough that Naruto was no longer bothered by her teasing and snide remarks, and had even began to tease back with the fledgling flirting skills he possessed, something he would never do if he had hated her. However, even with all of that, Kyuubi had been fairly adamant in letting him know he was beneath her. The second thing was that she had some kind of feelings for him. What those feelings were Naruto could not say. He would readily admit that he did not know much about women in general, and Kyuubi was by far the most confusing woman he had ever met. Not only that, but it was also blatantly obvious that Kyuubi herself did not know what she was feeling, though he could understand that. Kyuubi had always been selfish. She may not be evil in the sense that others had often thought of her as, but she had always been selfish. She used others to achieve her goals, that being to live a life of luxury befitting what she thought was her status, essentially how she thought Kami should be treated were he or she on Earth. She never cared about others, she never liked others, and the closest thing she had ever come to being nice was when she was ordering people around like slaves, at least if her words about her life before being sealed were to be believed. He continued to look at the vixen who by now had wrapped her arms around herself in an effort to control her shaking. Crawling over to her he gently placed his arms around her form, ignoring how she stiffened in his grip. What are you doing?" The shock in her voice was so profound that Naruto would have laughed were the situation not so damn confusing. Truth be told, he was not even sure what he was doing. "I'm hugging you, what does it look like?" He brought Kyuubi closer to him and placed her head under his chin. "Don't bother asking me why, cause I don't know. And don't bother telling me not to, because I'm not going to listen. Just shut up and accept it." He waited for several long moments to see what Kyuubi would do, expecting either some kind of attack or at the very least some verbal comment about him being beneath her. It was something of a relief when she did none of those. Instead he felt a pair of arms wrapping around him. "Don't think that just because I'm letting you get this close means anything," Kyuubi sniffed as she relaxed into the blonde. "And don't tell anyone about this or I will cause you untold amounts of suffering." Naruto chuckled a bit. "Who would I tell? I can just imagine that going over well with the people of Konoha." "Oh yeah, Kyuubi, well she's really one big softie. You'd be surprised how sensitive she is. No, really, she actually the nicest, fluffiest person you would ever meet." Kyuubi snorted as she tried to find a comfortable position and ended up sitting in the blonde's lap, her head resting on his shoulders. She took a small moment to analyze the novel experience. She would freely admit that she had never been in this position before. The few humans who had tried to touch her usually ended up losing a limb and most were too enthralled to do anything more than drool. However, it wasn't a terrible experience. Naruto was a Hanyo and therefore a cut above any human. Plus he was radiating this incredible warmth that was actually beckoning to Kyuubi. It gave her an odd comfort that she had never experienced. A part of her wondered if she could find some way to retain this feeling. They stayed that way for a little while until Kyuubi decided to bring something up again. "Do you remember what happened during this last battle, Naruto-kun?" Naruto cracked open the eyes that he had subconsciously closed and frowned. What about the last battle? I mean, do you remember the transformation you went through after that man stabbed you? Naruto gave a slight shake of his head. No doubt all I remember was that team puncturing me with his sword. After that my mind went blank and then I woke up here. Why? What kind of transformation did I do? Kyuubi frowned as she lifted her head from his shoulder and looked at him for a moment. After a while she tried to explain what she could. Truthfully, I don't know. It looked similar to my own transformations. I have 3 different states of transformation. The one I am in now I like to call my Hanyo state. While in this state you can see my tails and ears, most of my power is also released in this state, except I can't cause natural disasters with a flick of my tail. The other 2 states I have are my human state and my Kitsune state, both of which should be self-explanatory. Naruto nodded. And you're saying I have something like that? Kyuubi shrugged as her head went back on Naruto's shoulder. As I said, I don't really know. It was similar to mine but also different. It could be one of your abilities that you gained when you became a Hanyo, but I don't really know. The tomes I read said nothing about the abilities that a Hanyo may have. And for all we know this could be something unique to you. I see. Naruto paused. We'll worry about that later. Until we figure out what's going on with my body, there's not much we can do. I suppose you're right. Silence prevailed again for a few minutes until Naruto spoke up in soft voice. Are you still mad at me? Kyuubi closed her eyes and sighed. I was never mad at you. I was just... She paused for as she tried to sort out her feelings in the jumble of emotions she had. Worried, I guess. You blocked me out so completely that I could not even tell what you were feeling. Naruto raised an eyebrow that went unseen by Kyuubi. You were worried about me? Realizing what she said, Kyuubi's eyes snapped open and she looked up at Naruto. She opened her mouth to make some kind of excuse when she saw the look in his eyes. Snapping it shut, she tried to think of something to say before sighing. Yes, I was worried. Tell anyone I said that and not even Kami will save you from my wrath. She paused for a moment before continuing. I had always been able to tell what you were feeling. It's a side effect of the seal. However, when you cut me off I could not feel anything. It was like the other times when I had been sealed. You were sealed inside of more people than just me? Asked Naruto in curiosity. Kyuubi swore as she realized she was giving him more information than she had ever intended. She briefly wondered if this was because of their close proximity or that damned annoying feeling of comfort the blonde exuded. She resisted the urge to growl as she spoke again. Yes, but I would prefer not to speak about it. Maybe someday, I'll tell you, but not today. Naruto looked at her for a moment before nodding. I guess I can live with that and I'm sorry for ignoring you. I won't do it again. I promise. The red-haired vixen could not contain her smile. If there was one thing she learned about Naruto, it was that if he promised something, you'd better believe he would do it. Don't worry about it. A small gleam entered her eye as she spoke again as she realized he had given her an opening to get some kind of compensation for his stupidity. However, I do think you owe me some compensation for worrying me so much. Especially after this last stunt you pulled. Naruto blinked for a few seconds before shrugging. He supposed it was fair since he had almost gotten her killed through his actions. What do you want from me? Kyuubi paused for a few seconds as she thought about what she wanted. It had to be something feasible. She couldn't ask for her freedom, seeing as how even if he was willing to, she was not sure he could give her freedom. She also knew he would not accept being her slave. Not only did her charms not work like they normally did, but he was far too strong-willed. And she was sealed, so it would not really matter anyways. As she thought a little more, an idea came to her. Okay, what I want you to do is quite simple. When she was sure she had Naruto's attention, she continued, I want you to spend more time with me. When you go to sleep, your mind doesn't need to rest in the same way your body does, since most of it stays active anyways. From now on I want you to come into the seal whenever you sleep and spend your nights with me. And nights with you? Naruto squeaked as his face did a hinata and turned so red one might think he popped a blood vessel. A small trickle of blood also escaped his nose as his mind went straight down the gutter. Never let it be said that Naruto was not a hot-blooded male. Not like that, Naruto-kun. Kyuubi sighed in exasperation, though a part of her was not unreceptive to the thought of intimacy with the blonde. The thought had actually passed through her head once or twice, loath as she was to admit it. He was intelligent, he was strong and would only get stronger as time passed. He had that odd warmth that she could still feel as he held her. And most importantly of all, he was not human. If she ever wanted a relationship or intimacy with anyone, Naruto was the only person that she could feasibly be with. The thought left an odd resonance in her mind. She may have joked about sex a few times, but she had never truly desired it. It's something humans did, and there had never been anyone who she would consider worthy of such an honor. She shook her head of the thoughts and focused on the now. I just want you and the seal with me so I have someone to talk to. It gets awfully. She paused before finally admitting another issue she had, lonely here in your mind. She did not mention there was actually another voice in his mind. Kyuubi did not like talking to her anyways. I didn't think you felt lonely, Naruto commented. Kyuubi frowned before deciding that since she was being honest, she might as well explain herself. I am the only one of my kind, Naruto-kun. Yes, there are other Baijiu, but they are mindless beasts compared to me. They are creatures of instinct. Even humans have a more complex thought process than they do. The other Baijiu are terribly stupid and the only thing they can do is cause mass amounts of pointless destruction. The few that I have seen actually tried to attack me. They cannot hold an intelligent conversation, and from what I understand they only gain a form of intelligence after they have been subdued by whoever they are sealed into, and by that point. I see. Naruto frowned as he thought about her request for a moment, and though surprised decided to agree. Not like he had any better way to spend his nights. I can do that. That's good, Kyuubi smiled a bit before frowning. Now I'm afraid you need to wake so the people who are with you stop worrying about you so much. Naruto nodded as he looked at Kyuubi. I'll come back later tonight, okay? He received a nod before fading out of his mindscape. Kyuubi sighed as she picked herself off the ground. She felt so undignified by the events that had transpired just now. But at the same time she was almost glad for what happened. With nothing left to do, she crawled in her bed and relaxed as best as she could with the thoughts that were in her mind. Naruto stifled a groan as he woke up in the real world. Opening his eye, the blonde was greeted with a very interesting sight. You know, Ba-chan, as lovely a way as this is to wake up, I don't think you want me to see this. Tsunade, who had been leaning over him and running tests, looked down at Naruto in confusion. At least she did at first. Her eyes promptly widened and a blush actually came to her face when she saw that her leaning had inadvertently caused her extremely large bust to fall into Naruto's face, giving him a show that Jiraiya would kill for. She hurriedly leaned back and glared at him. Gaki, you are so lucky you're injured right now, or I would pound your face in for being such a pervert. I'm not a pervert, Naruto frowned as he denied the accusation. I'm a growing boy whose hormones are beginning to get out of control due to my teenage body growing in puberty. Nothing perverted about that. It's completely natural. Tsunade rolled her eyes. Nice medical dissertation. But it doesn't make a difference, you're still a pervert. And I guess this is because all men are perverts? Naruto questioned in a sarcastic tone. Of course. Naruto rolled his eyes as he attempted to sit up, only to wince a bit as his chest stung. Damn, that I'm still tender there. You shouldn't move yet, brat. That sword did quite a bit of damage to you. Not only the stab wounds themselves, but the poison had been causing the cells of your muscles, bones and tissue to die. In fact, by all rights you shouldn't even be alive. Tsunade tried to push him back down, however Naruto held firm until she relented and let him sit up. Don't worry, while I won't deny my ass was lucky, I'm feeling better now. Just a bit tender is all. Naruto rubbed the spot where he was stabbed and was surprised to find a scar. I guess the wound was so bad it couldn't heal. That would be due to the poison, Tsunade said. Kyuubi's healing factor simply wasn't enough to regenerate the wound in time to completely heal it, so there's going to be a scar. Well, that's fine with me, that means I get a cool story to tell about how I got this scar. Naruto grinned, causing Tsunade to sweat drop. Right, well, now that you're awake there is something you, me, Jiraiya and Shizune need to discuss. Naruto watched as Tsunade stood up and walked outside. I wonder what she wants to talk about? A thoughtful frown marred the blonde's features before the two Sannin and Shizune came in with Tantan in her arms. They all gather around him with Tsunade sitting back on the chair she had been in when he woke up. Jiraiya leaned against the wall at the end, while Shizune sat down on the bed next to him. How do you feel, Naruto-kun? Shizune asked with a smile. I feel fine, Shizune-chan. Thanks for asking. Naruto grinned back at her. I'm glad to see you're feeling better, Gaki. However, now that you're awake there's something we need to discuss. Jiraiya crossed his arms and held a serious expression on his face. What do you want to talk about, Hiro-senin? Naruto tilted his head to the side with an air of confusion. Kawaii. The two females in the room nearly squealed at how cute they thought the look made Naruto, and both had to suppress the urge to glomp the boy. That transformation you did, I need to know what that was. I know for a fact that it wasn't the Kyuubi. Jiraiya fixed the boy with a mild glare. Naruto bit his lip for a moment. Honestly, I'm not sure what it was. But you have an idea? Jiraiya narrowed his eyes at the boy. Well, it's alright, Naruto-kun. Q-chan? Go ahead and tell them, I think you can trust them with this. They may be human but they seem to be somewhat trustworthy. And if you don't tell them, they may assume I am able to take control of you. Naruto squirmed a bit before sighing, well, Q-chan, and I think it has something to do with my Hanyo abilities. Hanyo abilities? Jiraiya wondered out loud. Q-chan. Tsunade interrupted anything Jiraiya might have said. Are you telling me that the Kyuubi no Kitsune, the greatest tailed beast, is a girl? Yes? Naruto eyed the blonde wearily. It turned into a sweat drop when Tsunade stood up and uncharacteristically pumped a fist in the air. Yes. This proves that women are superior to men in every way. Ha. The strongest demon is a female, that has completely made my day. You know, I think I like her, for a human she isn't bad, Kyuubi chuckled in his mind. Right. Jiraiya coughed to get everyone back on track. You were saying something about Hanyo abilities? Naruto grimaced a bit. Yes. Because of Orochimaru trying to place his gay-ass hiki on me in the Forest of Death, Kyuubi was forced to divert at least 4 maybe 5 tails worth of her yuki into my body. However, the human body is not made to handle that amount when it's actually flooding your body. Tsunade frowned. What do you mean by that? Well, as you know, when a human has a demon sealed inside of them, they are able to utilize said demon's yuki. However, when they use it, the yuki is doing nothing more than moving around them. It's not actually inside of their bodies when they use it. Hence the shroud you see when a Jinchuriki uses their Baiju's yuki. I thought it had to travel through the chakra coils when you were using it, Jiraiya commented with a thoughtful frown. Yes, but there is more than just the chakra coils within the human body, isn't there? Q-chan said that when the cursed seal tried to infect me, that it tried to latch onto more than just my chakra coils, but also my muscles and organs in order to gain control over me. Naruto shrugged. I don't really know what it was trying to do or why it would do that. All I know is that Q-chan had to divert her yuki into my body to stop it from spreading so I could defeat it. However, the seal mutated and something happened within my body, fundamentally changing my DNA to match that of a demon's. Tsunade blinked as she tried to process what Naruto just said. So, you're not human? What about your human DNA? Naruto flinched when she said not human, but still answered her questions as Kyuubi did her best to explain. I'm half human, half demon, hence a Hanyo. I still have all of my human DNA within me, and from what Q-chan said, it's the dominant gene that would get passed down if I ever decide to have kids. However, my demonic DNA was added onto me because of the overflow of Q-chan's yuki in my body. And how long have you known this? Jiraiya asked in a disgruntled voice. Since I woke up in the Forest of Death, Naruto said in a soft voice. Then why didn't you tell Sarutobi-sensei or me? Because I was afraid. Naruto turned away when he spoke, not wanting to look Jiraiya or the others in the eyes. I was afraid that if you, Oji-san, or anyone else found out I was no longer human, that you would hate me. Jiraiya's eyes softened at that as he realized Naruto had only done what anybody in his position probably would have done. It was bad enough when the boy held the Kyuubi inside of him, but now he was a demon, well, half demon anyway. And if the general populace of Konoha ever found out, it would easily make his life hell. Shizune, who was sitting right next to him, did not really understand much other than that Naruto was at least half demon. However, she knew that the boy before her was not evil in any way. She scooted closer to him and wrapped an arm around the blonde, startling him into looking at her. I don't think it matters, Naruto-kun, she gave him a smile. Even if you're not fully human, you're still one of the kindest people I know. Naruto looked at her for a moment before smiling. Closing his eyes, he leaned into the black-haired woman. Thanks, Shizune-chan. That means a lot to hear someone say that. The other two smiled at the scene before Tsunade spoke up. I've never heard of a half-demon before. Nor will you, Naruto said, cracking an eye open as he stayed within the comforting embrace Shizune was giving him. According to Q-chan, the last Hanyo to exist in this world lived around several thousand years before she was born. Everyone looked surprised by that information, but filed it away and decided to get back to the task at hand. Well, since you woke up pretty late in the evening, we won't be leaving until tomorrow. Jiraiya got off the wall. I suggest you get some more sleep, Gaki. Leaving? Naruto asked. That's right, Tsunade said as she stood up. Tomorrow we'll be going back to Konoha. She favored him with a smile. After all, you won our bet. Naruto blinked in confusion for a second before he felt something cold on his chest. Looking down, he saw the Shodai's necklace sitting next to the one Haku had given him. Huh, I guess I did, didn't I? That right, so get some rest. We'll be leaving tomorrow morning. Tsunade, Jiraiya and Shizune left with Pig in tow, closing the door and leaving Naruto alone. Well, not really alone, Naruto reminded himself as he lay back down, closed his eyes and entered his mindscape. One last thought passed through his mind before he entered. He found himself in the forests of his mind. It's nice to know people still accept me for who I am, rather than what I am. As his mind went into the mindscape, He never noticed the two necklaces on his neck glowing with a light resonance for several seconds before they stopped.
That's it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and follow me on my other social media accounts. Anime God here, and I'm signing off.